Aliens are real.
I have met them.
He is what you call an extraterrestrial in human form.
I believe there's something like aliens which I experienced in that moment.
Oh, definitely, aliens are real.
Ancient civilizations had contact with aliens.
If you'd like to be part of a future video, email us at info@osmvision.co.uk.
Who are you? How old are you? And what do you do?
My name is Priscilla Mikith. I'm half Spanish, half Irish. I'm 23 years old and I'm a stylist and model based in London.
My name is Susan and I'm 72. Work-wise, I'm a psychotherapist and I'm also a spiritual healer.
I'm Kamran, I'm in early 30s and I am an actor.
Why do you believe in aliens?
I think there definitely has to be some life form out there if you consider how vast and ever expanding our universe is. We cannot be the only source of life.
Well, one main reason is because I have met them, which is an experience. So I have experienced many, many things throughout my life that possibly cannot be made sense of by many people, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah, because when we see the universe is vast, so when we see up in the sky different galaxies, different planets, and we are just not only the human which exist here. There are some other creation as well. So I believe that's our aliens.
Have you ever had an experience with aliens yourself? If so, tell us about it.
I personally have not, but I would be very open to it.
Once I was attending the camping trip with my friends. I was just going through some place. I just seen the cluster of lights. Yeah, I believe that would be something strange. Then it's just hovered in the couple of seconds. I couldn't blink my eyes as well. So I believe there's something like aliens which I experienced in that moment.
Well, yeah, like I just said, yes, I have. My memory takes me back to when I was around, must have been around 4 or 5. And I remember that because it was just before my sister was born. And I don't know how much description you want me to give, but I had a small bedroom at the back of the house and with a window opposite my bed. And I just remember this spacecraft, and there were 2 beings in the spacecraft, and they were, I can see their faces now, they were so beautiful. They had big eyes, they had blonde hair, sort of down to here from what I can remember, but it's set in my memory. And I remember looking, and I wasn't scared. And we were communicating, but it was, I now realise, being an adult, it was telepathy. I didn't know what that was at the time, and they were communicating with me. I could not tell you now what they were communicating, but I do know that I got a sense that they felt, I can't think of how else to phrase it, but they felt sorry for me. They felt sorry for the human race because they were looking with a sense of sadness. I do remember that quite distinctly, and I've carried that throughout my life. And since then, I've had many, many what I would classify as spiritual experiences, out-of-body experiences. I mean, I don't know how long you want me to talk. I could go on and on and on. There was one when my spirit left my body and travelled over 200 miles to save my brother who was being attacked. And I can verify that. I left my body. My oldest son was having a brain tumour removed at Charing Cross Hospital. And I left my body and went into the operating theatre. And I saw what the surgeons had done to him. because I had no previous knowledge of what they were going to do. And then when I was in the room and I saw my son lying face down on the operating table, I looked up and a shaft of the most brilliant white light came through and into the space in his skull. It was a triangle that the surgeons had cut in his skull. And I never knew that information, that that's what they did. A couple of days later, I was chatting to my son who'd recovered, and he's still with us. And he said, "Mum, I'm going to tell you what they do," because they told him what they do. They actually cut your skull, and it was a triangular shape, and they operate through that space. And then they put that piece of skull back, and it knits back into place, and then they bring the skin over. So now he's got a big scar down the back of his head. So that's another experience. I've got up to so many. I've had visitations. The most memorable visitation was when I was in my 30s, and I just really started deeply studying spirituality, and I was training as a spiritual healer with the National Federation of Spiritual Healers, which is now called the Healing Trust in the UK. And I was in bed with my then husband, and it was in the middle of the night, and I was woken up. The room was filled with white light, and there was a being to my left, and the light was so bright I couldn't actually see the figure or who it was. And anyway, again, this being spoke to me telepathically, and I could go into a lot more detail, but what happened, I had the most incredible spiritual stroke Kundalini experience. It was like 100 orgasms all at once in my body. It came through the crown chakra. I was lying in bed, through the crown chakra, all the way through my body, and I could feel it coming through my body, and it was just so overwhelming. Anyway, I just assumed that my husband was aware of everything, and I must have dropped off back to sleep. He got off for work, and I said to him, started talking to him. He hadn't a clue what I was talking about, because he really wasn't into what I was into. He would listen to me. I'm just trying to think. I've had so many. Would you like me to carry on sharing?
If you could ask one question to an extraterrestrial and get a clear answer, what would you ask?
What is your role on Earth, and are you here to help humans or study them?
My question would be why the aliens didn't contact us yet.
Do you believe any ancient civilizations had contact with aliens? Which one and why?
Well, in a lot of your questions, you're asking me if I believe. Well, I don't just believe because I've experienced things. Then there is a difference, because beliefs change. I know my beliefs over the years have changed in many, many ways, but the things I'm telling you, they have stayed the same because I have experienced it. So just throw that question at me again. Do I know? Well, in past lives, I've had many, many past lives. So, I mean, I believe I lived on Atlantis. I've had experiences. There are so many ancient civilizations that we do not even know of. They are so old. I mean, the earth is so old. We talk about Egypt being an ancient civilization. That's just a few thousand years. There are many, many that go back in time. And I believe that I have lived in those times.
Well, I believe the ancient Egyptian contacted them before because they were ahead of the time in that era. Yeah.
Definitely, I think a lot of ancient civilizations had contact with aliens. I'd say the Egyptians for sure did, because it's just impossible for them to have had such advanced knowledge and methods of construction and also agriculture, and for them to have that disappear out of the blue. There has to be some extraterrestrial intelligence involved.
Do you believe the government knows more than they say?
Definitely. The government keeps a lot of things from us, and this is just one more thing that they're keeping.
Of course they do. Why am I laughing? Because that's a joke, isn't it? Yeah, all the governments, of course they do. Why would they just don't want to share for their own reasons?
Yeah, government just passing the information slowly, so there's a lot more to say. Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how open are you to changing your mind today?
Changing my mind about what?
I'm always open to changing my mind. I think you need to have an open mind in this life and always be learning new things. But I don't think anybody can convince me that aliens are not real.
I can give the rate 7, but it's still open. I can improve more.
Okay, well, open my mind about what? Change my mind about what? I'm open all the time. I'm open all the time to whatever life brings me.
What's one belief you have that not everyone may agree with?
Well, again, it's an experience that aliens are amongst us, they're around us, they're visiting us, they exist. But for me, it's not just a belief, it's an experience.
The only belief I can say, the aliens are just another creation of God. Every person should accept this thing, and it's just happens in our life. We can just see in our in different examples when we see in the stars in the sky, so we can just imagine.
I actually think that aliens are already among us, and people might not agree with this because they have a prejudiced idea of what they may look like, but I think that many of them have managed to camouflage themselves among us.
What's your opinion on flat earthers?
I personally don't judge personal opinions because everyone can believe whatever they want, but I think that's completely erroneous, and I don't see how that would be possible.
Well, I don't really have an opinion because opinions, what I've learned in life is that opinions are generally just based on that individual's experience. So I just think, well, each to their own. I don't really have a point of view on that. It has been part of my research because I like researching. So that's as much as I can really say.
Well, flat earthers are just, I can't say anything about it because I don't have any opinion about flat earthers.
If you're enjoying the content so far, like and comment.
Rahubat, which is we send greetings to you all by way of Ashok, divine unconditional love. I am Haptwi Ray Atam Hatap, one of the many student teachers of the master teacher Parnabab Yananan.
Rahubat, which means greetings in our language. My name is Ken Sakamraye. I'm also one of the many student teachers of the master teacher Parnabab Yananan.
Rahubat U Ashok. I'm known as Usia Kwabina Ka'areye. I'm also a student teacher of the master teacher Parnabab Yananan.
I'm Kamran, I'm based in London and I'm an actor.
Welcome, welcome. How you doing?
Hello, my name is Susan. I work as a psychotherapist, and also I've been involved with spiritual healing for many, many years, and I live in Buckinghamshire.
Hi, come. Hi.
Thank you.
My name is Priska. I'm working as a stylist in London, and I consider myself to be quite a spiritual person, so I'm very interested in asking you guys some questions today.
Welcome.
Greetings, Prisca.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Fire away? Yeah, shoot away.
So,
right. Yeah, so who first? I'm
Now go.
going to ask you, Prisca.
Okay, yeah.
Question, how did you come into your spirituality?
Yeah.
You know, what do you deem as spiritual and what do you deem extraterrestrials are? Things like that, you know, what's
Okay.
your take on it?
Yeah. Well, I think I've always been interested in spirituality in a way. I come from quite a Christian background, but my parents were never like very rigid with their thinking. They always encouraged quite free thinking. So I just established my own ideas around what religion meant to me through my own experiences and my own interest in energy and what that means.
Okay.
And I definitely think there are extraterrestrials out there. I haven't had contact with them personally, at least not yet, but I'd be very interested in having a one-to-one conversation with them.
Right. Okay. Over to you, Sue. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, I don't know where to start really. I've been on this planet a long time.
Okay.
And I know my mission here
Okay.
is to extend love.
Okay.
Basically, it's to be love and extend love.
Mm-hmm.
And I, in my 30s, I went back into education and started training in psychology and psychotherapy. But also at the same time, I was led into training as a spiritual healer.
Okay.
So I've done those things for many years. I've worked in the NHS as well. I now work privately. However, to go back to your original question, I can't answer it in one sentence.
Right.
It's part of me.
Mm.
This is all part of my life and how I live my life.
Mm.
But I'm trying to live an earthly life.
Mm.
And I've had so many experiences, traumas and things throughout my life. However, I know they are all for the experience of my soul.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had contact with beings who do not live on the earth. But I believe I am one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't believe it, I know it. It's a difference, isn't there,
Mm-hmm.
between knowing and believing. So I don't know what else to tell you, really. I've had so many
thank you for sharing.
experiences.
That's,
yeah, okay.
Well, I belongs to a Muslim background, so I'm into spirituality as well. I try to just get more information about it. I'm just gaining more information, and sometimes I think if the aliens would be part of this this world, if they interact with a human, what kind of method they will use?
Okay.
So and how the human can interact with them?
Right.
So these questions I just arise in my mind.
Right.
So I just want to get the answer of this question.
Okay.
So fire away.
Fire away, yeah.
What are your
You got your questions now?
Any questions you have?
It's open, the floor's open.
Well, I've just got a feeling as I was sitting here, and I feel like crying.
Okay.
And I feel like crying because I feel I'm with like-minded people. I feel that I'm with people who I want to be with.
Okay.
And that has really touched me.
Okay.
That's right.
People who understand.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, yeah.
We know what you're saying, the energy, and when you're an empathetic being and as you expressed, wanting to spread and share love, and we live in a world where there's a lot of chaos, it can be a bit overwhelming, especially if people think that, you know, you're crazy or whatever.
Oh, totally. Oh,
for
yes, I
talking
get
about
that.
extraterrestrials and UFOs and things that it's not in the kind of
Common theme.
Yeah, so we know what you mean and we feel it too. We do want to express that when people use the word love today, there are different types of love.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
it's been desecrated, so people use it quite frivolously. But when we say love, we say, my brother said in his introduction, ashuk, which is divine love,
Yes.
unconditional love.
Yes.
And we know there's love for one's partner and children and things like that, but this is a higher type of love that those who vibrate on that frequency can relate to. Yeah. Happy, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah. Do you know about us?
Well, I wanted to ask you a question, because I've noticed that you all have different symbols, and I would like you to explain what these symbols represent and what this one on your jacket, because you've all got is it the same on the jacket, but you've got different things on your head
On our
attire.
crowns.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Could you explain a little bit?
Yes. Before we explain that, we have to let you know who we are.
Yes.
We are known as, we have many descriptions that we gave ourselves of ourselves. So we are known as, the culture is called Wu Sabat.
Can you spell that first word?
Wu is W-U, that's Wu, and
Wu.
Sabat is S-A-B-A-T, Wu Sabat.
Wu Sabat, okay.
That's the culture. The people are called Musmatu or Sabians. The language is okay, and the language is called Misbatia. So you hear the word Sabat in Wu Sabat, Musbatia, the people, and Misbatia, the language.
The language, okay.
Okay. We also are known as, the culture is also referred to as Wu Nawap.
Okay.
And the people are known as Monwapo or Nawapians. And the language is also known as Nawapik. We also refer to ourselves as Monbatu, which translates as the golden ones. The culture is called Nabat, and the language is called Minbatia. Okay, so you had the word Nabat, which is gold. The one who's brought all this to us, we refer to him as the master teacher. Pa Nabab Yananan. Nabab means master or galactical master teacher in human form. Affectionately, we refer to him as Baba Yanun.
Baba
Yanun. And he is what you call an extraterrestrial in human form, incarnated into the body of His Excellency Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. So continue on there.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so we're going to get straight into it.
Yeah.
And when you were giving your introductions and you were asked a question, if you could ask an alien a question, what would it be? So he is an extraterrestrial from the planet Risk, which is in a galaxy called Ilion.
Spell that word.
R-I-Z-Q.
Okay.
Yeah. It's known, again, Haptweet touched on language. Language is very important because we're going to use terms and words that you may not be familiar with, but we can explain them and translate into English. So he's from the planet Risk, which is in a galaxy called Ilion. He's one of those beings that is spoken about throughout all the scriptures, in the Quran, in the Bible.
Yeah.
Basically all the ancient culture, Sumerian culture, and he's a part of the overseers, who were the beings that came to this planet and built the pyramids with the assistance of their offspring on the planet. And his job here today, as you were saying, is to bring humanity to a point where we're raising our consciousness and dealing with higher vibrations and frequencies, such as divine love. You also asked about our symbol. This symbol is a representation of what we call the double resurrection. So in religion, people talk about a time will come where all truth will be made known to the world and all false things will perish. And they talk about it in a sense of, in religion that is, that you have to die and then go to a place called heaven before you're receiving this salvation and so forth. But we know that people who talk about heaven, they talk from a religious perspective or their own personal experience. But when we start going into the facts, you know, it's a completely different story. Like when we go into the facts about everything that we've been taught for the last 6,000 years, which was influenced by other extraterrestrials who want to take control of this planet, and they have a different narrative.
Yeah.
There are many, many different types of extraterrestrials, but the ones that most people are talking about who did this is the Anunnaki.
Yes.
Okay, we know about the Pleiadians, we know about the Ashtar Command. So this is like our insignia for our culture, and it's about those people who are willing to resurrect here and now. No, you don't have to wait. Resurrect mentally, spiritually, consciously. So if you look at other extraterrestrials, they also have their insignias. Like you can see, like the Ashtar Command, they got that like an A with a wing and a craft.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is representative of us being born again after we were put to sleep with the spell of religion and the spell of, you know, like controls by the systems that have been set up.
I like the way you've explained that.
Yeah.
Put to sleep.
Yeah, so we're waking back up. Many people are waking back up all over the planet now, because even though we have a physical body, we also have other parts of our being, like the spiritual body, like the soul, the conscious being. So those parts of you have developed, just like you've developed from being a baby physically. The spiritual you, the mental you, the conscious you is also developing. So this is a phenomenon that is going across worldwide, because we're in a different day and time now where there's been a dimensional shift. You know, from the year 2012, people were worried about, oh, the Mayans said it's the end of the world because it was the end of their calendar. And we're in something called the sun cycle now, which started from the year 2000, which many people call different names, like the silver cycle, the Aquarian age, and so forth. So these are the new truths that are here. And by way of our master teacher, and he happens to be one of the galactical beings, as Haptui said as well, known as Janun. Some of the other people or beings that have come to the planet, they also have galactical names, you know, like Sananda, for example, which some people refer to for Jesus. I did the quotes because there's a lot to unpack there, but yeah, so I hope that answered your question. I don't know if my brother wants to.
Thank you for explaining that.
No problem.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you've touched on a lot of things that Seken said. So yeah, they've extraterrestrials not just are beings that have come here. They already have been here on this planet for many, many millennia.
Yeah.
You know, and have built cities and empires, and some have been destroyed, and some have left. You'd heard about Lemuria. You heard about Lemurian Empire. You've heard about what else is there? Atlantis. Yeah. So there's different empires or different high evolved societies that had way advanced technology that some of are hidden still in certain parts of the world. There's caverns in the earth, and there's hollow earth theories, you know, of beings that live within the caverns. Some of them are surface dwellers. Some of them have mixed in with humans. You know, so when you talk about ETs, Hollywood's depiction has misconstrued a lot of the things that humanity should really be knowing, you know, because they've depicted them with either green, scaly, horrible, etc. You with me? Even though some of these beings do exist, but in the way that they've depicted it, it's made you to think, oh, it's just, as they say, science fiction. You with me? But then they tell you there's a science. So that science is the facts. So there's facts hidden within the lies. You see, that's where the word science fiction is actually telling you. So these factual information is what the master teacher is revealing to us daily on a day-to-day basis, year to year. And he's still giving us information about the origins of our planet, you know, because Earth hasn't been here for just a mere 10,000 years, according to biblical writings. It's been here for billions of years, you know, and there's beings that we call it actually water planet. It's not a solid as in the soil, because when you look at the percentage, it's actually liquid, it's water, you know. So these are just the similar things, traits, and throughout our evolution, you see actually the growth of a fetus in the womb taking on different actual changes, transformations, you know, looking like a particular humanoid creature, which you can relate to extraterrestrials who have been on this planet but are part of our genetic gene pool now. You know, so all of these things is what Partner Babyanun is revealing. And obviously, you know, the most important thing, as we've always stipulated and you've mentioned, is divine love. You know, there's many galactical beings that have come to this world and within this world who want the consciousness level to raise, because why? It links in with other star systems and other galactical brothers and sisters who are waiting for our consciousness to get to a certain point where they can reveal themselves, you know. But there are Luciferians, what we refer to as Luciferians, who don't want that because they want to control as a prison for on this planet. Yeah.
So just to, when we talk about language, language is so important, because when we use words like alien, extraterrestrials, UFO, IFOs, if you don't go, or even UAPs now, if we don't explain them and go into it, then, you know, people can get lost. So for example, we are all extraterrestrials. Go ahead.
You just hit on quite a simple point, because I'm originally from the north of England.
Okay.
And I came to London many, many years ago, and I felt like an alien.
That's right.
And I'm from the same country. So talking about aliens, they are part of the stratosphere, but they might just be coming from another planet.
Exactly.
But we are all part of the whole, aren't we?
That's right.
And it just hit.
Yeah, because when
like.
Americans call somebody an alien, they're literally saying somebody that's come from another place or like another country. And anyone can be an alien. Like you say, you can be alienated. You could be in the...
Alienated, yes.
You could be in the workplace and feel alienated. You know, you can be with your family and feel alienated. You can feel so out of place just because of the way you think, or you think differently from what we like to call the sheeple.
Yeah.
Not sheep that follow blindly.
Yeah. Well, I felt alienated, which means to me separate from.
Yes.
And when I hear people talking about aliens, it's like they are separate from us. Well, I'm sort of my own experiences, not just a belief, is that they're not.
They're not.
Yeah. So just to finish off what I was saying, so you're right. They're different species of what they call aliens, but they're really known as extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Because when you break down the language and the words, when you're saying words in English, you have to remember that English was specifically designed, and the words you use actually are Tricknology. So you're saying extra. What does extra mean? Something addition to.
An addition to.
Yeah. So terrestrial deals with the terrain, deals with this planet, which was once called Terra. You see? And so when you're saying celestial, which is heavens above, you're saying something that's coming from outside the from the celestial plane into the terrestrial plane. So you're saying extra terrestrial. You see, so in that sense, anything that comes from outside of the planet, whether it's a meteorite, you know, or whether it's angels, as you know, we read in the biblical accounts, whether it's Jesus, whether it's God, whatever term you use for these beings, they're telling you they're not from here and they're somewhere else, which they call heaven. You see, so the concept of extraterrestrial, when you really break the word down, it's not the same as Hollywood's interpretation of aliens. But having said that, there are different species of extraterrestrials that have been here way, way before the types of humanoid form we have. You've got different species of reptilians, of greys, draconians, Teros, Deros, the Nakil, the Duanis. There's so many, and they've mixed with human and have had offspring. And we are walking on the planet. Some of us are children of these extraterrestrials.
Yes, definitely.
And some of them are in the caverns, as my brother mentioned. Some of them live on the planet Earth. Some of them are on TV every day. Some of them are in Hollywood movies. Some of them are walking around and, you know, have different types of experiences and think they're crazy because they're not accepted in, you know, modern society. So, yeah, it's a broad topic, and we're happy to go into more details of anything you hear us touch on or mention.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how did they originally arrive on Earth? Because one of my questions was, can they have children with humans? And you've said yes. So that would carry on the lineage of, and would answer the question of how they're still here. But how did they originally arrive? And why was it to help civilizations evolve and expand their knowledge, or was it to like study them or control them, or were there several extraterrestrial groups with different interests?
It's all of the above. It really literally is all of the above.
All of the above.
Go on, Habtu. Yeah.
That's a very good question. First of all, as you said, a lot of it's got to do with the language that we speak. We speak the English language. In the word planet, you had the word plan-E-T. That should give you a clue. You see, so you got plan of extraterrestrials. Now, what is that extraterrestrials seeded this planet millions of years ago. They seeded by way of the DNA that's coming from the Sirius star system and Orion star system into the waters of the planet millions of years ago. We refer to the many different the extraterrestrials that we ourselves say ourselves with as Musabat is a deity called Ptah. And it's because these beings are scientists or galactical scientists of the highest order. I'd just like to stop there and go back to Master Teacher, because he sits on the council. I've never heard of a council called the Council of Nine. They're called, or the Nine Inner Lands. The Master Teacher sits on that council. He's what, you know, and what he is here to do is to present to us what we refer to as outformation into information, meaning it is the doctrine is an extraterrestrial doctrine, and when we say outformation, we are making reference that it is interdimensional. Okay, the books that he writes is interdimensional, is very much alive. Okay, so now the beings from the Sirius star system and from Orion star system seeded this planet by way of the dolphin. They put the DNA in the dolphin. They came into the waters of the planet, and that's how life germinated from the waters of the planet. The Master Teacher says to us, he has said from day one that he is an extraterrestrial, and from a star system called, I can't mention it earlier on, called Ilion. This word Ilion you will find in the Quran in chapter 83, verse 18 to 19. You see the word Ilion, the place on high. Okay. In your Bible, Genesis chapter 14, verse 18, you see the word a being called Melchizedek. He was a high priest after the order of the Most High, and in the Hebrew, the word is Ilion. You hear the word Ilion again. So language is very, very important. So these beings seeded the planet millions of years ago. To them beings, time means nothing, because time doesn't exist outside this 3D realm. Like when you're sleeping, it's no time doesn't exist. Actually, time and space is part of the spell or sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I also
mention.
question, yeah. So Yeah, it's intriguing time, isn't it?
Mm.
Are we the only planet that experiences linear time?
That's a good question.
Well, it's actually an illusion.
Yeah.
It's a created illusion
Yeah.
by whoever put it into effect. You with me? But in essence, time is, meaning that there's ripples within. There's a here, there's a now, and there's a then, and it's all happened at the same time.
Yeah.
You with me? So you can go back in the time and forward in time, what they call future and past. Yeah, and it's still existing. It's still continuing. So there's a time continuum, and time is not linear. Time is expanding.
Yeah.
You see, so the concept that they're giving you of a wall, a face clock, and it's going tick, 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 that's an illusion. You understand? So that concept about, it's all to do with time zones, or what they refer to as time zones, when they created the Greenwich Mean Time, and then you fly to one zone to another. But really, truly, time just is, you know, and it's constantly continuing.
So on other planets, though,
I was just
do they have clocks?
tie into that and add to your original question.
Okay.
See, the thing is that when you want to look at how we came to be, because that was your kind of original question, a lot of us on the planet Earth are obsessed with just the planet Earth, which is but a tiny, tiny little speck when you look at the cosmos. So then you have to kind of go backwards in time, because what happens is that things start small and then they expand and grow outwards. So our planet Earth, in our one solar system, comes from other, or let me go further. So our one solar system, our one galaxy, our one universe, right? But there are other universes out there with multiple beings that their evolution started where they are. But ours started here, but they came from there to seed this planet. And then what you will see on the planet Earth today, you will look at the races on the planet. Every race is related to the extraterrestrial that seeded them. So what happened is that on the planet, when anthropologists are trying to figure out, like, who was here first, where did we come from, how did we get here, the latest information, because when you're a scientist, you have to keep up to date with the latest in development of anything. That's why I went like UFO, which they say is unidentified flying objects, but you're identifying it when you're saying that, so that name would make sense. So our master teacher pointed out that that's IFO, identified flying object. But now they've upgraded it to UAPs, which is unidentified aerial phenomena. Now, the governments of the world have been aware of extraterrestrials for many years, but what they've done is put your attention to things like the Roswell incident, and then they try to cover it up and say, oh, it was a weather balloon. Because the original information is normally the people that have experienced whatever's happened. Then you get these people that go and visit them, called Men in Black. They all made a movie from it. The Men in Black, they go and they gather all the real evidence, and then they tell the people some story. Oh, you know, it was they'll say, we're going to do an investigation, and then we'll come back and say it was a weather balloon. But people have got pieces of the technology. You have places like Area 51, right? We even go back to, you know, many, many projects that people know about that were classified in the 40s, 50s, when extraterrestrials were becoming more like people, many people across the world were actually having experiences. So what's happening is that today now, things are being unclassified. So you're hearing like Project Blue Book, M12, Rainbow Project. There's so many projects that are now being uncovered, and people that worked in these places. You've got like Myers, I can't remember his first name. Billy Myers. And you got people like Bob Lazar, who was working in Area 51. And our master was talking about these things. He put out many books. I've got some of them here with me. I may share later. Like, are there UFOs in your midst? He's talking about the technologies, mentioning elements that hadn't been discovered there at that time, like Omicron and element 115. These were later discovered, And people that worked on these crafts, the reason I'm mentioning the technology is because they've tried to re-engineer some of these flying saucers and crafts.
Yeah.
Hitler was doing that because he was in contact with the Ashtar Command from
Didn't know that.
Aldebaran. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, and he had crafts in Antarctica. So this is where a lot of this information was unclassified or was classified and hidden, and now it's coming out. Many people, before they're crossing over, they don't have anything more to lose. They're becoming whistleblowers. You see, so on the planet, the anthropologists will say the first people are the Negroid or the Africans, right? Who are referred to as the Homo naledi and the Homo habilis. Then you have, these are the root races, and then obviously there are mixtures. The second one is the Homo floresiensis, or what they call Denisovan. And the third being the Caucasian, what they refer to as the Neanderthal or the Cro-Magnon. This is how they're classifying people on the planet. But then all of those have mixed in with each other to produce many sub-races. I'm saying that to say when we go back to the extraterrestrials now, the Negroid ancestors that came here first and seeded this planet, that's who we're referring as the Natharu, which became Natiru in Egypt, where you get the word nature from, right? Then you have a lot of the Caucasian, what I just classified as, you know, Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal. They relate their DNA and genetics to the Pleiadians or the Pleiades a lot, from the Pleiades star constellation. Then you have the Asians, and that's anyone like Chinese, Japanese, Korean. They are all referred to as Denisovan or Homo floresiensis, and they have their origins from a planet called Nirvana. Their beings came. So after our ancestors, the original ones, seeded the planet, other extraterrestrials, some of them were just exploring, like the Anunnaki. They were trying to find gold, and then they discovered this planet, so they came down. Then you started, I'm just almost done. But then other beings just started coming here afterwards. So you had different types of extraterrestrials coming here and then setting up shop in different places, mixing with humans, having children. Like the Nephilims that's mentioned in Genesis 6:4 tells you that the sons of God came down and they mixed with the daughters of men to produce offspring. Then you have the situation in the book of Revelations where you have Michael and his angels having a war, Revelation 12:7, having a war with this being that's known as the dragon, right? The word dragon is related to draconian from the Draco constellation. And those draconians, they lost that war and they were cast out from heaven and they came down here. So they're here, living here. And this is where you get the good and bad, the devil versus God and the Luciferian agenda, the disagreeable, the Yahweh or Yah versus Way, the seraphim versus the cherubims. And we can just go on and on. The brothers from these families, Enlil versus Enki, and it just goes on and on. So the extraterrestrial UFO story is massive because this planet has been here for billions of years. So even the time frames that people use when they talk about, say, Egypt, they will say, oh, it's about 10,000 years old, but it's actually much older than that, you see. So yeah, I hope that kind of helps you.
Yes.
I actually had another question.
Go ahead.
Relating more to the topic of the government and kind of power. Because if extraterrestrials or celestial beings are here to help us, I mean, maybe not all of them are here to help us, but it just seems a bit contradictory that the government would keep this information from us, and not only that, but that they would demonize them in many ways and instill this kind of fear onto society that they should be scared or wary of extraterrestrials. And I personally think that it's because they feel threatened, of course, by the intelligence that they might have and the power dynamics and all of that. But yeah, it just seems a bit contradictory to me because governments are supposedly supposed to help us and act in our best interest. And I think they're not really doing that by keeping this information from us and portraying a false image of what these beings are.
Yeah, you're 100% right in that sense, because what we've given you many different terminologies, but there are factions within governments, and you have to remember what we said. These extraterrestrials, they have offspring. You have to bear that in mind.
Yeah.
So their children have been here also for hundreds and thousands of years. So they've orchestrated themselves into different societies and into governments. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because of that, they have created the narrative of religion. They've created the narrative of worldwide keeping people in control. You see what I'm saying? Disseminating certain small portion of information, making people seem like they're crazy, you know, for seeing certain things or recording certain things. So it's a concentrated effort to not allow humanity to grow to a certain level of consciousness. Because if that happens, you then realize you are the God. You're the one that's in control. You can make decisions. You can do this. You see what I'm saying? You're not bounded by religious beliefs or ideologies or dogmas. And this is what they've created. So they've created this irreality, you see what I'm saying, for you to live in, which now movies call it the Matrix. You see what I'm saying? So this Matrix that you're in is a mental matrix that traps your mind not to be allowed to question things, or if you do question, you're labeled the nut. You're labeled the crazy one. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so it's a constant effort, and their children are in these governments, you know, and they put themselves in certain positions of power. Yeah. And then they all, not necessarily like the president over, we know now, for instance, Trump here, you know what I'm saying? He's just going mad. So what we're saying is that there's powers that be, that are in control. But they've created that because they've instilled the fear. You see, they've created the fear from when you're a child. It's not from as an adult. The fear is created when you're children. So it's in the subconscious, you know, not to question things, you know, and that is always being imposed through media, through radio, through things. Because once you start to realize that you're energy being that you're energy, they have ways to manipulate your energy. You understand? Yeah, and manipulate your consciousness. And they make movies about it just to show you that we can do this. You know, so I don't know if anyone...
I was just going to say that, like what I said before, the conflict of the gods, there are extraterrestrials with different agendas. There are those who want to live and coexist happily with everyone on the planet, and they just want to be left alone. And, you know, they've been doing that for thousands and millions of years. There are those who want to take over the planet and control it. There are those who want to just eliminate the planet because they look at humanity as pests and just damaging the planet, you know, with the water, with, you know, the synthetic things that we do, cutting and killing the trees and eating the animals, all kinds of things that they look at us as primitive. So there is a tug of war between those who want to save the planet, live with everyone happily, and those who have a sinister objective that they want to take over. This then feeds into the governments. So you always have two governments, you know, one wearing red colors, red ties, and one wearing blue, because you're dealing with the red blood and the blue blood, the cold blood. So it's not as simple as that. It's that war I mentioned from Michael and his angels, who are, remember, Michael is supposed to be the archangel. He's on the good side, he's on God's side. And the devil, he's supposed to be the bad guy, and he's come down here. So they're trying to take over and control the planet. So this tug of war has been going on for a long time. But as of the year 2000, with this new cycle, they've been judged, because you have, like we have the United Nations, where you have representatives from different countries and different sovereign nations. You have galactic councils as well, intergalactical councils, where beings from different galaxies come and they're representing their galaxy. I said that Parnabab Yanun is from the 19th galaxy. We are in the 18th galaxy, which is next door to the 19th galaxy. So what happens on the planet will affect our neighbors. So if we cause a holocaust, which is like, let's say the wars on the planet get to the point where nuclear bombs and missiles, like the things we're talking about even now with the wars that are going on with Ukraine, Russia and Palestine and Israel, this can lead to the sinister extraterrestrial wanting to just blow up the planet. And then you have some who are trying to leave the planet. You know, they want to go to Mars and they want to go to Europa and they want to go to different places and start life there. So this 6,000 years that has ended in the year 2000 was run by what we call the moon cycle, where these beings were in control, but their time's up now. So they are basically being eliminated by way of natural nature, so they can stop causing the division, the chaos, and this hidden information from the, you know, from the public. So yeah, a lot of things now are, we're in the sun cycle, but many people have to awake from that slumber, from that sleep. And that's what we are here to do as the teachers of this new cycle, this new 24,000 cycle, because the extraterrestrial designed and set this solar system in motion. Yeah, so this is why the number 24 is very significant, because at one point this planet was much bigger than it is, but there was an accident. There have been many accidents with like meteorite showers, or you know, like the crash from the ship that people talk about called Nibiru. And when they decided to terraform and repair it from the accident, they started a new 24,000 year cycle. So when we were talking about time, we're literally talking about our planet going around the sun 24,000 times, which will say 24,000 years, which we know as an equinox. And then it starts a new cycle. We're actually all aliens or extraterrestrial on this craft called planet Earth. And we're traveling. It's just that we're just going around the sun, and we do that for 24,000 years. Then we say, okay, that's one cycle. We do another one, we say that's 48,000 years, or it's rounded up to being an epoch. And you keep doing that for millions and millions and millions of years, you realize that we have been here for a very long time. But this 2000, the year 2000 AD is the new cycle where many changes are going to take place. And that's what we have to get the world to know, that you are extraterrestrials. Because even if you look at it from a very simple perspective, like, we use the Bible and the Quran and these books is because we've studied them, not because we're religious, but because when people try to figure out, who am I? Where did I come from? How did I get here? As my brother was saying, as a child, you're given nursery rhymes and certain basic information. But when you get to an adult, you want to know the facts. So most people's moral compass is based on whatever the society they're in gives them from a child, or their parents or their family. If they're Christians, they're more than likely going to become Christians. If their family are Muslims, they're more than likely going to become Muslims, and so on. So when you ask, where do I come from? They'll give you a story of, there was a being called God who created the world in 6 days, and he had to have a rest on the seventh day. And he's in this place called heaven. He has angels around him. And one of the angels that he created was a devil, or became a devil. I don't know why he didn't know he was going to become a devil, but that's another story. But he became a devil. There was war. They came down here. And that sounds nice as a child. But then when you grow up and you start to ask and probe further, where is heaven? I mean, like, exactly where it is, because we have mapped many constellations, many star systems. When you're using English, you get stuck, because all people can offer you is, it's up there. And you say, up where? Is it the sky? Is it galaxy? Is it the universe? You know, where exactly is this place? How long does it take to get there? How can I get there? How can I travel there? Because they give you a story that God sent his son. He came from there, and he came here, and apparently he came to be a sacrificial lamb, to die for sins, to remove sins from the world. And then he went back, and he's there now. And he's sitting on the right-hand side of his Father. Yet you have mediums that can contact and have shows to contact people from different realms. But when we say, can we have a show to contact God or Jesus so we can verify these things, all of a sudden that can't be done. You see, so as an adult, you have questions all your life from being a child that have never been answered, because all they can do is say,
You must believe.
believe and follow and have faith. But you know, when you're dealing with science will go, all right, we've got the latest technology, James Webb telescope, to look into the universe and get facts, and we've got all of these meteorites and things, meteors that we've studied. So yeah, if you're a person that really wants to know the truth, this is the big difference. It's like you either want to believe, which is dealing with belief. You can believe anything you want and it's fine. And you look at the word belief, there's the word lie right in the middle of it. Or you can be somebody that wants to know, which is the first part of the word knowledge.
Yes.
And people that want to know things, they seek and study to gain the knowledge. I see you had a flag up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I don't think of heaven as a set place. I think of it more as a frequency, and anybody could access that frequency no matter where they are. Like they can just get into that kind of state.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask more about other frequencies, and if you think about like telepathy and communicating through the pool of consciousness, is this done by putting yourself into or aligning yourself with those specific frequencies? Or, well, and also, does telepathy work in like some sort of energy exchange, or is it a thought exchange or an image, or what is it exactly? Like, is it?
I was going to say one little bit, and then I'll let you guys, because I was kind of finishing that off. Yeah, it's good to have conversations with people of, what's the word? I don't want to be rude to anybody, but you know, of
Like-minded.
Like-minded. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There are different realms, and there is, okay, the lowest one is this one, the physical realm, material plane, and then you go to the spiritual. Then you have one called the soul realm. Then you have the mental realm. That the mental realm is where we all get our thoughts from, and this is what you're saying about accessing that vibration and frequency on that realm, which is where you can start tapping into your higher senses, which are telepathy, intuition, clairvoyance, and psychometry. But I know the brothers have probably plenty to add to that, so let me yield.
You said something about telepathy, etc., and we've got to be scientific, going to science as well. And with me, we are all interconnected. And if you study quantum physics, they call it quantum entanglement, meaning that we are all interwoven on a quantum realm. Now, when you talk about frequencies, when we say that the physical plane is the lowest of planes, it's literally we talk about the frequency. But while still in the physical plane, you still can tune the dial up to higher frequencies that we do all the time subconsciously when we go to sleep. So when we are asleep, there is no space or time. Time, when Ursula said time is or just is, the word is existence. So time is existence, existence is time. Time is in us, through us, and around us. There is only now. We've got then in the past, and we have then in the future. So when we think, stop there. The master said it like this: the past is still happening, and the future has already happened. So there's only now. When we think of the past, we are thinking about the past now. When we are thinking about future events, we're thinking about it now. So there's no future in the future, and there's no past in the past. There's only now. And that's how we get trapped. But like I said, when we go to sleep, there's only then that we are experiencing during that dream state. And we also vibrate on a higher frequency, meaning that if you're able to look at your movements in your dream state, you won't be, from the physical eyes, you won't be able to see it because it'd be moving at such a fast rate. you won't be able to see the movements. So the way to tap into the higher realms is really by being aware, your awareness, and stilling the mind. When we say stilling the mind, we mean that if you can block out all thoughts from your mind, because the mind doesn't like to be observed, and mean there's no thought going into your mind, you do that and your mind is in the now. And in that state, you become more receptive to higher frequencies. The longer you can hold that state, the more impressions you receive, whether it be telepathically, which is mind-to-mind communication, be it by way of clairvoyance, meaning you have the ability to see interdimensionally, or whether it's intuition, meaning you're able to receive thoughts without a mental interruption. Okay, you also got psychometry, which is able to.
Can I just add to that? So what Haptui is explaining, there are glands that have to be activated as well while in that process and those practices. So one of the main glands that we had originally was known as the barotheric gland. It's a gland that many people are not aware of.
Can you say that word again?
Barotheric.
Okay.
Okay, so it's to do the connection with the soul. The word ba'a in there tells you it's to do with the soul in our language. But this barotheric gland was originally in the hippocampus area of the brain, okay, which is responsible for hallucinations and memory. So that gland hasn't been fully destroyed or eliminated. It was actually done by these extraterrestrials, because some of them realized the potential that we had. And that with that potential, we could either do it destructively or constructively. So in order to avoid that happening, they maimed it. Okay. Now, once we get to that evolutionary period where we become more conscious and aware and learn responsibility, just what I'm saying, then when you are worthy, you'll be able to activate that gland, or that gland will regrow back or be reinserted. You see what I'm saying? By these extraterrestrials who deem you worthy. It's not something that you can just access.
But what deems you worthy? Like, who is anyone to deem someone else worthy?
Well, it's like this. We talk about extraterrestrial and way that some of them are our parents. So as a parent, I'm not going to give you, we said this some time ago, and I love other teachings, I'm not going to give you a gun as a child, as a baby, because you don't know what to do with it. It's a loaded gun. You don't know how to operate it, utilize it, etc. So you would utilize it wrong. So when I say you're worthy of something, it's not that, oh, I have to go and seek permission, but it's by way of your actions, what you do, just what I'm saying, etc., that will deem you worthy to utilize this particular power. Because with power comes great responsibilities. You see? Yeah.
So one would be unworthy if they were to use it with a malintent.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Or with, like, if they were to abuse the power, then
precisely
could it be taken away from them?
Yes.
And when people say things like, who gives someone the power to be the one to judge and things like that, a lot of that comes from ego, right? Because if you ask somebody, do you know everything? Most people, in fact, everybody should say no, because no one knows everything. However, there are people who are more knowledgeable in certain subjects than others. So we have to sometimes put our ego aside and know that when we're talking about these beings, they have done the work. They have elevated to such a height that they can now come back and teach us. This is what happens when all these so-called spiritual people that come to teach us, when I say so-called, is because people put people on a pedestal, even though they're just like us, but they've just attained a higher level of knowledge and they've transformed themselves to be able to be in that seat or that position. So when people say, okay, how do I get there? This is where the whole chakras systems come in, because most people who are trying to seek spiritual enlightenment, they will be like, well, we say endarkenment, that's another story, but they will learn these things like meditation, mindfulness, care, love, And as you're doing that, you activate these centers within you, and you're then becoming more of a light being. And when we say light being, you have an aura, an electromagnetic spectrum within your being, as well as how the planet has. And so you start to elevate yourself by doing the work, and then those chakras light up. Most people only talk about the 7, right? Because a lot of people will go to, like, remember I said at the beginning, we as the Negroids or the Africans were first, and through being the children of what people are calling the ancient Egyptians, we were taught these things. This is what the pyramids were for. Well, one of the reasons. There were schools of learning. This is why everybody went to Egypt to study. The people that wanted to learn the higher mysteries, right? So they went there and they were sitting on the great teachers like Tahuti, who is known in different cultures by different names. He becomes Hermes, Thoth, many titles that he holds. And so even like Jesus went to Egypt, yeah? Abraham went to Egypt, Moses was in Egypt. So you start to see that everybody went to Egypt because they had this higher knowledge, and they were able to build the pyramids. The pyramids align to the belt of Orion, which is where they come from originally. So they came down here with all this knowledge, and they would teach students, and those who made the higher grades or graduated would then go out into the world to teach. They'll be able to perform miracles, which is really alchemy, yeah, knowing how to transform base metals and so forth. They were able to levitate, walk on water. All the things that they refer to in the Bible as miracles are things you can do if you have been taught and given the information. So things like your tonsils and your appendix, I did it the other way around. Yeah, they are part of your being, together with these chakras, together with your, if you get your barythry gland, it acts with the pineal gland and your pituitary gland. This is where people say your third eye is open, and everyone's trying to activate the pineal gland. But to do that, you have to be taught the sciences, the spiritual aspects, the mental aspects, etc. So that's why we have amongst us the reincarnation of that great teacher known as Atum or Atum Ray. This is where the language is also very important, because when we're talking about frequencies and vibrations, you're saying words and things that are affecting your frequency. And time, matter, and space, they work together. And when we're saying traveling back and forth, you're talking about vibrations, higher vibrations, lower vibrations, and that relates to your memory as well, because you have memory stored in your cells, is stored in everything. And so you can go, when we say back, you're talking about up and down in terms of the vibrations, or time is more circular than linear, because people think it starts here and it ends here, but it's like spirals. So you can go back and you can go forward, you see. So I just wanted to tie that in. But you had your flag up.
I'm just wondering and wanted to know, what is the time in the other galaxies? Like, we work in seconds, hours, and minutes, and how they see the times. And the other one.
Great point.
Yeah.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
And the other one, if the scientists try to reach out the creations on other galaxies, how they can create the trust factors, like how they can contact human without any fear or any mistrust. Yeah. And the third question is, we believe that the jinns, and you know about jinn, yeah, jinn are made up of fire, yeah, and the human are of water. They are hot and the human are cold. Yeah, it's just our beliefs.
Yeah, we're aware of it.
What's the purpose of the creation of the jinn? Why they made from fire?
Okay, I'll touch on the first one. Maybe the brothers could.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the first one, you talked about time and how these extraterrestrials measure their time in their world. Yeah. I'll give you a scenario, an example, what the master teacher, Partner Babianun, gave. In a lecture called "Does God Exist According to Our Time?" Yeah, he gave an example of an ant. If an ant was to move from this corner of the room to the end of the room, and you as a human walked to that end of the room, to an ant, its perception of you is that you're eternal. You understand? Because the length of time it takes an ant to cross the road or to get to the other end of the room could be days, but you could do it in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
So time in that perspective
Yeah.
is that from where they are, their time could be billions of years. You see what I'm saying? So to you, it could be billions of years. For them, it could have been a day that they just traveled and come back.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is the concept of what we're talking about in the sense of time. It's irrelevant because it just is. That's what perhaps you were saying. You can't measure it by our yardstick, even though we're trying to. But then it's a mental construct to keep us in a particular mental state.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, remember when I said about the 24,000 years, I kind of just gave it to you. But when we start to measure how we measure time, you're given the smallest unit being what? What is it?
A minute.
A second.
Second.
Yeah, so they start off with seconds. But when you're counting, you go first, second, third. So why didn't you start at the first? Because time was calculated to match up with how we go around the sun. It takes us 365 days, roughly, because it fluctuates, right, to go around the sun, and we call that 1 year because of the distance we are from the sun. We're the third from the sun, right? So this project was, as I said before, was put in motion by these elders, the extraterrestrials that are far more advanced and they're outside our time zone. So it's called sector 3 because it's the third from the sun. And when you count from the other way, it's number 6. So they called it zone 6. And then they said project 24. So 24 becomes the unit that we say 1 in terms of 24 hours in 1 day. So that will be 1 cycle. So we are going seconds, but we're missing out the first. I'm going to come back to the first because there's time missing where we are trapped in this cycle where we think that time is moving forward, yeah, but it's not because it's not linear. So every cycle that we're going around the sun, because of our distance, if you took, let's say, another planet in our galaxy, our solar system, say Jupiter or Mars, they're further away from the sun. So they cycle, one cycle, if there's twice the distance that we're in, their 1 day is going to be different. Their 1 year is going to be different. So when you come outside of our solar system, which is just about the orbits that our planets go around the sun, and each one has a different time, you're not governed by that time zone. So in the scriptures, they will say, 1 day in 2 Peter's, 1 day is like 1,000 years, right? Yeah, 1,000 years to the Lord. But when you start saying, who's this Lord? Who are these beings that we're talking about? Because they're actual extraterrestrial beings. Like Gabriel's an extraterrestrial, Michael's an extraterrestrial. And we can go through them because they wear clothes and they come here from somewhere and they come in crafts. You look at the books of Daniel, you know, they're talking about crafts. You look at the book of Revelations, it's talking about the crystal city, that's crafts. You're talking about the children of Israel when they were, you know, they had this apparently cloud that was guiding them and stopping and moving. Clouds do not operate like that. So that was another craft. We can go on Ezekiel's will, that's a craft. So these extraterrestrials have been coming back and forth for years, and they travel and have technology that we are so far behind with. They have come and spoken with people, like Val Thor came and visited the White House. You got ex-presidents like Eisenhower, you got Truman, you've got, and going back to your original question, there were certain facets, like the Kennedys, certain people that tried to reveal certain information, they would be suppressed, but bits still come out. So it's a very complex thing, but we're in a day and time now where a lot of information is coming out. Like I said, even the American government had something called disclosure, and accepting and revealing, or at least starting to have the conversations about extraterrestrials and abductions and UFOs. Because when people, there was a school in, is it Uganda?
That's Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, that's right, that had an extraterrestrial experience, where it's not just one person, you got the whole school that experienced this, and children who had been traumatized, and they were put into like hypnotic regression, and they were able to draw the same beings. There are beings, people all over the world that have had different experiences. So you can't put a lid on it when, regardless of your race, regardless of your color, regardless of your country, you have this experience. Even Muhammad apparently went to the seventh heaven and he traveled, but they refer to it like a donkey or a burak or something, they call it. Like, but when you start to ask the questions, like scientifically, how can a donkey fly to heaven and have a conversation and come back? It's because religious people don't want to deal with extraterrestrials. But the whole book, the whole stories are all about extraterrestrials, you see. So we're in a day and time now where the master teacher, Partner Babyanun, is being an extraterrestrial, being somebody that goes to the intergalactical meetings in Mount Shasta, and being that from the time he came to this planet, he said, I'm an extraterrestrial, I've been sent here to come and raise you lot up, to teach you like what your concept of God and aliens, and you know, these are just different extraterrestrial beings that are here, and they've dumbed you down, and now you've got to be first woken up, and then secondly you have to do the work. You have to do the work and study, and then, like you were saying, be worthy to receive your barothry gland back, and then you can then access what we call the 9 levels of 9 ether. Yeah, 9 ether or ether is what, when you get to the, like you want to go all the way to the beginning, like where does our universe come from, and the other universes, and the multiverse, and the omniverse. All of that is surrounded within ether. And this is something that the scientific world are starting to recognize or talk about in more detail. Yeah.
You also mentioned about the Jinn. Did you want to?
Yeah,
Touch up and leave the Jinn
factory.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. The Jinn is made up of fire, and the angel are made up of water.
Green light and amber light.
We know the purpose angels, why God creates those angels, but I want to know what was the purpose to create the Jinn.
All right, yeah. We talk about Jinn. In Arabic, the word is no samun, smokeless wind, and they are what we refer to as, although they're talking about their energy field is amber. They're of the amber light, as opposed to all the cherubim, and those of the green light are known as the seraphim, the agreeable and disagreeable. So, for example, the Jinn, or what they call shaitan in Arabic, or Satan. Yeah, these are a group of extraterrestrials made of smokeless. When they say smokeless wind, they talk about their nature, that they are that makes up their composition. And when you in the Quran, when they talk about Mikael or Michael, they call him in the Quran as El Khidr, the green one. So this is in reference to his composition or his energy field. So you have a group of extraterrestrials or angels of the green light. You got those, or the seraphim, or those of the amber light, or those made of fire, the disagreeables. Okay, so that's why when we make mention of Revelation chapter 12 verse 7, where it says there's war in the heavens, means there's a battle. Michael and his angels, those of the green light, the seraphim, fought against the dragon and his angels, his cherubims, and it goes on to say and they got cast out of the Orion skies, meaning that the word heaven, as we said earlier on, in the Greek is Orinos, which is really the Orion star system. So they got cast out, meaning they were no longer part of what we refer to as the sun members. There's a council, and they were no longer the so-called dragon and his angels or his messengers. They were no longer of that council. They got cast out and they got sent to the planet in spirit form. And it goes on to say, and they did deceive the nation. So there was a war going on in the galactical heavens, and when it came down, when it says deceive, meaning that on the planet now, in 2026, there's trick knowledge by way of deception. There's trick knowledge and right knowledge running simultaneously on this planet Earth. Another word for trick knowledge is multiple tricknology. Another term you all may be familiar with is called polytricks or politics. So that alone will let you know who are these politicians aligning themselves with. You see, so that is what's happening on the planet. So the jinns are, in actuality, that's mentioned in the Quran, are those disagreeable beings made of fire or the amber light. And as we talk, Sir Cam's mentioned earlier on, if you can remember, that we are in what we refer to as the sun cycle or the age of Aquarius. People are waking up, and it's not by luck or chance that you are here today, because there are forces we refer to as the ontological forces, or these 9 evil forces is now interpenetrating the atmosphere, and the day, time and cycle for myths and mythology, belief, faith and hope is dissipating, is ending. Now, when we talk about belief, let's call it for now. We'll see, I want to say something. When we talk about belief is a program, you see. And as a program can be utilized to help expand the mind. We talk about your consciousness, or to help contract or restrict the mind. You follow? So when we start off any journey, we always start off on belief. But as we continue our journey and our minds expand, our mind is no longer contracted, it begins to expand. So the doctrine that the master teacher is here to teach us is to us to grow away from belief into knowing and confirmation. Because when you know a thing, there's no room for belief. Because now you know by way of right knowledge, the right wisdom, and the right overstanding, not understanding, overstanding, because you're standing looking down, that's an overstanding, as opposed to having an understanding, you're standing looking up. The information is above my head, no. And when you, from overstanding, you move on to the science of sound, right reasoning, with reasoning being the highest form of mental processing.
I just want to say, you've just opened up and expanded totally on what you said earlier on about words.
Right.
And as you're talking, you're pulling these words apart, and it's making so much sense to me.
And that's his job.
It's wonderful.
That's part of Babylonian's job, because he knew, or he was aware, that humans are trapped in words.
Yes.
You see, and
we don't know it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You do know it.
Well, yeah.
But it's not within the consciousness often.
What it is, I quickly speak for the brothers talk.
Yeah.
What the master's given us are keys, master keys. And a key, what does a key do?
Opens.
Does it open the door? What does it do?
Unlocks.
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 Okay.
The locked doors. But who opens the door? Who opens the door?
Well, I know I open my own door.
Exactly.
That's right. You open the door. So you can have an unlocked door, but the door's still closed. You can have an unlocked door, you open the door, but don't walk across the threshold. As you will unlock the doors, the keys, when you say the keys is your consciousness, and the doors is within inside of you. As you unlock the door, you open the door, and you start moving in the right direction. Okay, and as you're moving, the doors begin to open. That opening, we talk about the expansion of your mind.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to tie back to your question in terms of when you're saying jinns, you have to remember that we said like the different realms. So in Islam, they would refer to the realm of humans as Nasut. Then the realms of the angel, they would say Malakut from Malaika, yeah? And then the realm beyond that, where they would say the Most High or Allah exists, is called Lahut. This 1, 2, 3 is based on the principle of solid, liquid, and gas. So when you're in the solid, like we are now, we have this physical human skin suit. But when you don't have the human skin suit, you still have your etheric being or your spiritual body, or the beings that you can call the beings of light, or as you call them, jinns, which is, you can have the agreeable beings who are existing on those spiritual levels, mental levels I mentioned before, because not every being on this planet has a physical body. You know, there are disembodied spirits walking around. You can read all about this in Revelations 18:2. And so when you're talking about jinns, there are beings that are physical human jinns. There are beings that are spiritual or etheric jinns, because there's the two sides on all vibrations except for the really higher ones, because you can't go to the higher ones if you still have the disagreeable nature. So we live in a construct where everything's based on the 3 dimension, but there are more dimensions outside of that. So humans are limited to like the visible spectrum. We're limited to people, places, and things. We're limited to the programming from the child is 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, morning, noon, night, breakfast, lunch, and supper. You can keep going on and on how these extraterrestrials have constructed this kind of limitation on you reaching the higher levels, which go on to 9. Because 9 is the highest, because you say 9 to the 9th power of 9, which they term in infinity. So you've got beings on all different vibrations, and some of them are disagreeable, which we call the jinns, and then you have the agreeable ones, which we call the angels, for lack of a better word.
So much was brought up that I think, oh my God, triggered different things in me. And I'm going to just put that
we
down.
encourage people that come to our classes to bring pen and paper.
Yeah.
Because the master teacher, Pa Nabab Yanun, has told us he's been equipped with 76 trillion years of knowledge, and he must impart at least 24,000 years of that to us. And so you'll never learn this information in a school, universities, because the levels are much, much higher than that, you see. And this is knowledge that goes, as I said before, beyond academic knowledge. It goes to the real center of who you really are internally, you see. So we have a lot of information, so you do have to take notes. We say, don't believe anything we say, because we don't deal with a belief system. Like, you can actually go and research. And these days you have smartphones, you've got the internet, you've got so much. We're living in the information age. And no matter what, there's going to be people that are going to distort information, because it's about throwing people off. So there's right knowledge and there's wrong knowledge. So in order for you to know what's right and what's wrong, it's going to go, like you were saying, into your real internal being.
Yes.
You have to let that energy, the vibration, because it is a vibration. You know when someone is telling you the truth, and you know when someone is trying to, distort or bamboozle you. So it's important for you to do the research and let your soul, your inner being, make the decision. Because we hear people that will say, online, they will say, we don't know what we're talking about. But we say, no matter who you are on this planet, there's someone that you look to or listen to or follow, or whether you're saying it's Christianity, Islam, Judaism, or a professor, or whoever on the planet that you follow, we say we will put them to the same scrutiny and test to see if they really know what they're talking about or what they're teaching you. So it's not enough to just claim you are this or you're that. People have to put you to the test and question you, research, check you out. And there's no one on the planet living or unalive that can match what this Pana Babyanun is teaching. And he's still here on the planet right now. And of course, I have to mention, we have to free him because he has been incarcerated.
Well, yes, that was
because of
Tola earlier.
because of him spreading this knowledge and talking about, you know, the extraterrestrial involvement and all these beings that have been hiding and suppressing the knowledge on the planet. One of the things that we failed to mention is like the power struggle that is going on. Some of it is intentional, you know, because if everybody was to know the truth, those who monopolize the truth and hold people down will no longer be able to benefit from it. So this information, anybody that starts to reach the masses and open their eyes, they obviously, you know, come up with any type of way, just like in the Bible, Jesus' time, where they made up stories because he said he was a son of God, and then, you know, conspired, and the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin, they went about trying to find him and then incarcerate him and then eventually unalive him if they have the opportunity. So there are many people over the years that try to teach and expose and give the information to help humanity rise in consciousness, that end up obviously having to deal with the adversaries and people on the planet that don't want that to happen. But let me let you get to your question.
Well, thank you for explaining that.
No problem.
Talking about knowledge is power, most definitely. And
if it's used properly.
If it's used properly. And you were saying that his knowledge and other knowledge that we need for our awakening is often suppressed. However, we do have the means in the West today. Well, I know I have via the internet, and I've educated myself lots and lots through research.
Right.
And everything that you've been talking about today, I just want to say I am so grateful to have met you today, because I do believe I'm meant to be here. And I feel so blessed.
Thank you very much.
To be here and having this experience today. And talking about time, I have felt no time today. And I had in Earth time a 3-hour journey to get here today. However, it just felt like, I don't know, 10 minutes. I can't put it into words. Wonderful.
You can bend time. This is, again, one of the things that they don't teach us, because without going into too much of the science, there is a method that extraterrestrials use. And that's how they're able to travel long distances.
That's the sort of thing I want to know. I want to learn more about. I'm just going to.
They're able to travel because humans are very primitive, and we're still using like combustion, and we're still using the fuel, like fossil fuels, and this is harming the planet. So they know how to utilize. This is what even someone like Nikola Tesla was dealing with, because he was able to communicate intergalactically many years before, you know, and they had to suppress him. But there's something called contraction and expansion that you do to space-time, right? So you're able to travel in what they call warp speed when you know how to do this. In order for you to be able to do that, your crafts have to be highly, in terms of technology, very advanced. So when I mentioned about people like Bob Lazar that were working in Area 51, they were trying to, and they tried to re-engineer these crafts. But some of the crafts are built to fuse with the person driving its DNA and genetics. So you're not going to be able to fly it if you're not fused with that. But there's a movie recently with Jennifer Lopez that kind of gives you this information that you could watch. But yeah, so they know and have the technology to travel through wormholes, or we call them gateways, or you know, in the movies like Stargate, they show you these things. There's Stargates, even in Doctor Strange, they show the guy that opens the Stargate and he just walks through. So if you know what to do, even though people will teach you like the fastest way to travel from one place to another is in a straight line, that's actually how we know it. But when you deal with extraterrestrials, they know that to bend time, all they have to do is bring those 2 points together.
Oh, bring the 2 points together.
Right. So you don't have to travel like in that linear fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are portals and gateways
Well,
that
that's
can be
intriguing
opened.
because I've had meditations where I've entered portals. So is that the bringing together mentally rather than having to travel physically?
That's right. So you can travel intergalactically, which is using crafts, or you can travel interdimensionally, which you just move from one dimension to the other.
Yeah.
And you can do that by astral projecting, remote viewing. There are many methods that you can use to travel back and forth to what we call the past and the future.
Yeah.
I want to say something you said earlier on about when you hear us teach, what you're hearing today, you write it down. That is the intent of us.
Yeah.
That when you're hearing something, it inspires you and you write it down. And we've been in adoption almost 100 years between us. And believe it or not, and I do the same thing even now that I may be driving, as a thought comes to me, and I have to stop, get a piece of paper, and write things down. That is the purpose. That is the intent. That you get inspired by what you hear. You have to write something down, make notes. That's our intent to try to do that. And also, when you talk about traveling interdimensionally, basically, as Ken was talking about warping space-time, that's what the master teacher says, that with the intake of Moth calls it, you will turn yourself into a craft and have the ability to bend space and time, transform yourself into craft and move without the aid. You are a craft.
Okay.
You are a craft. So
can I ask? It's to do with myself. So, I mean, I work, it's just part of my life, as a psychotherapist and also as a spiritual healer, to use that terminology. And as an example, when I'm with someone who comes specifically for, say, spiritual healing, I will use a therapy bed, and they go into a deep state of what I would call sleep. I don't know what other word to use, but I actually go into other dimensions in that space. So would I be meeting with a portal? Would I be, what would, to put it in, I don't know how to explain it to people. When people ask me, I say, well, I'm there. It's like I am in a film. I am, and I can see everything that's going on. And I'm also invited by the beings of light into what they're doing, and they get me to help them.
Okay.
So how, and I can't explain it, but do I need to explain it?
Not really. It's your personal experience as well.
It's an experience.
And we advocate that we cannot or do not explain your personal experience.
Yeah.
You with me? So your personal experience is yours, and we will not discredit that. It's what is making you transform on your journey.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying? And eventually the answers will reveal themselves as to what your purpose is on this realm, you know, and how to help others. You already know how you're helping others because you're already a healer. Do you see what I'm saying? But the more fundamental purposes to your existence, I'm not here to then try and explain to you what they are.
Well, these are questions that I constantly ask myself.
Yeah.
And for me, 'cause you were talking earlier about the circles overlapping, and for me, I talk a lot about the And you spoke about, I think you said 29 personalities.
Yeah, that's right.
So when I'm talking in a psychobabble, so to speak, psychotherapist language, I talk about different aspects to the self, with the core self, the authentic self, the true self, which in another, to use other language, the spiritual self, but also the word soul. And I was quite mystified when you said, not everybody has a soul.
That's
Because
right.
I've been carrying this thing in, everyone has a soul.
It's misinterpretation because people mix up spirit
Yes.
and soul.
Yes.
And they're two different words, so they must have
Yes.
two different meanings.
Yes.
Lucia mentioned before that in the religious world, when they're talking about soul, they don't realize you have two souls. One is referred to as the breath of life,
Yes.
because we all need to breathe, which is converting oxygen, into, we breathe in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide, which tells you that there's a process or something that's happening. So it's a burning that's taking place because carbon is a residue of burning.
Yeah.
So you either have a lit fire, right, which we call a solar or solar plexus, because solar refers to the sun, or you have a lunar plex, which means it's cold or not activated, which is the moon, relating to the moon. So you have the moon cycle and the sun cycle, as we mentioned before, or agreeable beings and disagreeable beings, which we might refer to as jinns. The brother was mentioning that this relates to light because you have different types of light. So you have light where you can use it in an agreeable way, like to cook food or to warm, like we're using light right now. But light has a spectrum and a frequency, which can go to disagreeable light, where you get words like Illuminati, which the word Illuminati means illuminated, which is being illuminated by light, or what they call the fire. So they say Lucifer is the fire bearer. Yeah, so there's two separate lights going on, and those who don't activate or have a soul, they operating on the spirit, which is dealing with the lower vibrations. In order to reach the higher vibrations, you need that soul to be activated to be able to pull you upwards. So you got a struggle going on all the time.
Yeah, so it's a bit like the light and the, so Jung referred to the shadow, didn't he?
Right,
Jung,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
So it's about...
So coming to the science of being able to use frequency to heal.
Yes.
You can use frequency, whether it's sound, whether it's light, and this is dealing with understanding the electromagnetic spectrum.
Yes.
Where people's auras are emanating different types of light. And you have lights which are like, let's say the colors, when they become that frequency, like green light or the white light. The yellow light refers to the intellect, the white light is purity, the green light is healing. So once you know how, you can actually, and then the lower lights, like the grays and the dark, not in color, but just like the negative, they go down, and these are the negative emotions that people have and negative thoughts that they're pulling from the reservoir. So it's really about, if you're channeling the green light, you can utilize that energy in healing, and depending on who you are, even though we're not going to, like Lucia said, and tell you about your experience, but the science aspect of it is that you can use vibrations and frequencies to heal if you know how, you see. So yeah.
And sorry, no, I was saying that you mentioned about your relatives or people that the light beings that are around you when you're doing your healing.
Oh, yeah, not just my generally it's the relatives of the people who will come. Their relatives will come.
Okay, so you
into the space.
sound like a medium.
Channeling.
So I channel as well, and also I've had, I also have what I refer to as spirit doctors, doctors who have actually lived on Earth.
Okay.
And they want to serve humanity.
Right.
And there are two particular doctors who've written their names down.
Okay.
So can I say, in case anybody wants to?
Okay. We learn from you as well.
Exactly.
So each one teach one.
Okay, so the first one is, he became a sir, okay? Well, he's Dr. Ludwig Guttmann,
Okay.
and he was of German origin, and he
Okay.
came to England in 1939.
Okay.
He was a German Jew,
Mm.
so he came over to here, and he was given a post. He's a neurologist. He was given a post at Stoke Mandeville Hospital in Buckinghamshire. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
associations with that as well.
Okay. And he, I mean, they've actually made a film of him.
Mm.
It's either on Netflix or the other one. What's the other one called? Amazon. I'm not sure. But there is a film about his life, and it shows how he introduced the Paralympics.
Okay.
So he comes into the space.
Okay.
Yeah, from time to time. And there's another doctor called Dr. Reich Hammer. He was German on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And he introduced something called German New Medicine. And he got himself involved with cancer.
Okay.
But he was not, so he comes into the space. So he came into the space a while ago for somebody I was working with who was diagnosed with cancer. And I could actually feel his personality, his strength of his personality to help this woman.
Sorry.
Yeah, but he was not accepted by the authorities and he was imprisoned. So they're just two of the doctors who've lived on Earth.
Okay.
But light beings come in, masters, ascended masters come in.
Okay.
There's a load of them.
Okay.
All sorts, and as I say, relatives, ancestors of the people, the person who's coming. Yeah.
We've got, you know about Hitler, right? He was in touch with like
The Theosophical
the
Society.
Theosophical Society.
Well,
and
you
the
mentioned
Thule
it earlier
Society.
on. Now, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right,
So, because the people you mentioned, they kind of tie back and go to Germany or be Germans. And he was in touch with Madame Blavatsky, who was like a channeler that he utilized to contact these beings from Aldebaran that we mentioned before, like the Ashtar Command. And they were doing the same thing where they were giving him information, and these extraterrestrials chose him as their man on the planet. That's why he was going about trying to create what he termed the superior race. And the blonde hair, blue eyes, which are the Ashtar Federation. So
Because I've actually had experience of those.
Yeah,
Okay.
Pleiadians,
Years ago.
Ashtar Federation are, it's like a United Nations, but there's a particular extraterrestrials who belong to that federation.
I got the feeling they were Pleiadians.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Ashtar Command
Okay.
are Pleiadians.
Okay.
But it's like you've got like the United Nations, but there's different,
Different.
beings that operate or work together.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying? They are known as also as your Yahwehans
Okay.
in your Bible.
Yeah.
So these particular beings, like Sir Ken was saying, is that they traveled in time. They initially came to Eisenhower. I think it's Eisenhower. And they were Eisenhower tricked them, and because of that, they went back into time, or went back into a time period where they met up with Zigrum and Madame Blavatsky, who were mediums. And because these mediums were into the channeling
occult.
up into the occult world.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? But because these Pleiadians knew that the occult world is really a dealing of energy and frequencies, they were able to manifest themselves as the Pleiadians and introduce themselves. Now, from that introduction, they then were able to contact Adolf Hitler, and use him to set up the Third Reich. You see what I'm saying? And to set up certain things and to start creating a replica of themselves on the planet.
Right.
This is where your Hitler's project was.
Project the Master Race.
Exactly.
Thank you for explaining that.
You're most welcome.
There's so much to it,
So
because
much.
some of these extraterrestrials then utilize the beings on the planet to do their work. So what I was going to say is like, you have to be careful that, not you specifically, I'm saying in general, when people are in contact with these different beings, some of them will use them for their own objective or agenda. Yeah, so Hitler was used for that, and you know, it ended up with the world wars, and you know, and there's a big exaggeration about the unaliving of the Jews, because he didn't look like blonde hair, blue eyes. A lot of people don't know that he was even from Austria, you know, so it didn't make sense for what he was trying to do unless it was heavily influenced by these extraterrestrials. And that whole thing with the different beings that he was contacting is like, in the end, even though people think that Germany lost the war, the Third Reich, which is what he was really involved with the occult, and he wrote the first book called The New World Order, which today now the New World Order is being put in place, in the sense of they want to basically be able to control every facet of society, because that's how these extraterrestrials that want to take over the planet, they introduce a lot of technologies and things to the planet that people may think is a good or positive thing, but they have their own ulterior motives, you know, to dumb you down to the point where you're literally like, now they're talking about getting chips in you in the Book of Revelations and these books that people refer to as end times, or the book, you know, the time where the end of the world, as they call it. But they're not explaining that, what world are we talking about when you're saying, you know, New World Order. We're getting to this point where the new sun cycle, so the old world is actually coming to an end and the new world is coming in. But people may look at New World Order, Illuminati, and all these words, and it creates fear, creates a lot of chaos, that people are panicking. But that also then helps the beings that feed off of that negative energy, you see. So it's important to know which beings you're in contact with, who you're, not you again, I'm talking in general, in contact with, channeling, and what their motive is for utilizing
it does affect me.
Yeah, and we have a book called Projection and Reflection that helps you to unpack these things.
That's quite a word in psychology, projection.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, I was, you were talking about this world and that, all the different worlds. And there is, within my psychology world, I suppose, we create our own world. And that is how I live myself. I know that I create my reality, and how I think, how I am, what I do, in every way. In every way.
That's right.
And inside me, in that place, I know what world I want to live in. Although I see stuff all around me, I have the power within me to interact in whatever way I choose with that. And in the world of psychology and psychotherapy, when someone comes to see me, as an example, they bring their world. They literally bring their world into this space. And I was saying to someone earlier that when I am with that person, I am in their world. I can be in their world. So I can experience and get to know the world that person is bringing. And in a lot of ways, trying to escape from. You know, as you say, we've got to do the work.
You absorb some of that.
We've got to do the work. Well, I absorb it and then let it go.
Oh, definitely.
Because,
what's actually happening is you talk your brainwave frequency, because, you know, when we are awake, we are on what they refer to as the beta wave. But what you are saying is, when you go into their world, your brainwave activity is actually heightened to what they heightening to what they refer to as the gamma wave frequency.
Yes.
You see, so you're now on their level, on the frequency that they're at. So you are actually, whether they know or not, their brainwave is actually on a higher frequency, and you are interacting on that frequency, that gamma wave frequency, and those being like the doctors and their ancestors, you are interacting with them also.
It's all happening simultaneously.
That's right, because there's
I'm able to oversee. Although I'm in their world, I'm able to oversee.
Yeah.
It's as I say, I haven't got the words for what is going on.
Master teacher is known as an avatar. Yeah, that's a being that's able to receive affirmation through him.
Yeah.
So he always explained that this being that we keep talking about, called Yanun, is a being that is able to access all levels, right? All the way from the 9th to the 9th power of 9, or the 9 etheric realms, all the way down at will. And he is able to allow his being, by these masters, you spoke about the masters, to channel through him or speak through him.
Yeah.
So his pen is guided by this being called Yanun. And this is how that affirmation is coming through to us in information. So when he writes the books, he has to sometimes go back and read them, and he realizes that, wow, like this information is not me. He keeps saying, of myself, I could not do these works. But because of this galactic being, Yanun, who is the 19th elder amongst the 24 elders, who then go to the highest 9, the Council of 9, and we have another scroll called the 9, because these beings, they become one, even though they're separate. Energetically, we're all one, but they're just on a higher vibration, on a higher frequency. So yes, he's able to channel all the beings that people think have crossed over, because we know energy can't be destroyed. So all these beings, still, the ones that have made it, still exist. When I said 29, right, because you have 4 generations backwards that you are a result of, right, which is 30 personalities in all, including you. But you have to subtract the ones that are still alive. So because you're still alive, I would say 29 if I don't know that your parents are still alive, or your grandparents or your great-grandparents. So if they're still alive, you subtract those as well. So therefore, you may have between 29 or less personalities.
Can I ask a question on that? Because you've just triggered something. So I've had lots of what's called past life regression, and I actually do it with people as well. So are they, we're tapping into, again, vibrations, aren't we? And for me, it's about what is coming up to be let go of. And I just used the word healing, but it's about letting go of, or clearing in some way, to be able to really get in touch with that light being of self. See, I'm trying to find the words to explain.
It's also a form of acceptance. Once you get to, when the soul and the being starts to grow, you learn to accept things for what they are.
Yes.
And it's that point when you reach that acceptance where you're able to apply love, you're able to apply, you know, reasoning, you're able to apply these things because you accepted things as what they are. And then you can see through the mud.
Rather than sitting there, I've got to change this, I've got to change that.
You know, because part of not accepting is having people you're pointing the finger and being judgmental, etc.
And it's using force as well.
So you're whoever you're connected to, or whoever you know you're working or operating through you, just what I'm saying, they are helping you transform. This is exactly what Partner Yanun is trying to do with us, and we are disseminating this information to humanity, is that accepting who you are and not what you have been taught to be. Just what I'm saying, you know, and to become, and then become the true you, live through that real soul being, you know, and not being afraid and all of these other obstacles that the mind creates. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, another book that he's put here, My Brother the Extraterrestrial, this was written by his sister, where he's actually explaining in here, you know what I mean, certain levels, and people are brought testimony to the miracles and things that, or what they call miracles, but things that have happened in their lives that he is being part of.
Yes.
He's even explained to us that he was that bird that was sitting on the windowsill, just what I'm saying, or that person that's passed in your life and giving you certain things, but you weren't aware that he played a part in your life. You know, so back to what your experiences are and what you've explained to us, there are beings that will come and give you certain information, just what I'm saying, to help you along on your journey.
And
You know?
every single one of us, by way of these personalities, who are your ancestors, who have crossed over, who are vibrating on those different dimensions or realms, you are able to connect with them, right, in what we mentioned before as quantum entanglement, or what we talk about when we said a morphogenetic field, because you can utilize them. Say you had an ancestor that was a great healer.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're able to pull that from them to help you in this world. You have to know how to connect and tune into them. You also have the disagreeable ones. That's why when we were saying thoughts can come into your mind, external thoughts or thoughts from these ancestors, and some of them are disagreeable. They will stop you from elevating because they enjoy or want to relive the physical world and experience the things you're doing that perhaps may be disagreeable, that you're battling with. So sometimes people might have struggles with like alcohol or drugs or lying or whatever's going on. It's because those ancestors within you that are very powerful are influencing you to keep doing that so they can experience it. So you have to definitely learn how.
That's one. That's
Yeah. you have to learn which one to.
So that's
suppress.
part of the psycho. Is it psychotherapy you mentioned?
Psychotherapy.
Yeah, psychotherapy. So when you're thinking about psychos, the mind, and therapy is the healing of the mind.
Yeah.
But we don't realize that our mind is connected to those relatives that are influencing our thoughts and our behaviors on this realm. And those relatives, the way it's fueled by way of your emotions. So when you're in an emotional state as a being, depending on whether it's a calm state or a elevated, agitated state, it changes your auric field.
Yes.
And because that changes your auric field, those relatives or those external beings, entities, can actually influence how you behave, think, do things, etc. You see, so we are being privy to have that explained to us. So within our culture, we operate on certain levels where we keep calm, we do certain practices, we do certain chants, we do certain prayers, affirmations, etc. Because that keeps us in a balanced state. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and as you've been explaining that, I just got thrown in the medical model.
Okay.
That, because I've worked in the NHS, which is a whole medical model. But I'm also very much into, well, as you can gather, the holistic. And it's, I mean, I did leave eventually. I work privately now. It's so constraining. It really is. However, to go back to the point of the ancestors in regard to that, in my own life as a human being, I have experienced a lot of trauma, what would be described as trauma. And going through that and working through it in the way that I do and have, and accepting and being gracious and grateful in lots of ways, because I've been given those because I just see them now as experiences. Although when you're in it, it's freaking horrible. And however, it's helped me in the work that I do as well. I mean, I think often think, how can I sit with someone who's in the depths of devastation and grief and all of that stuff if I haven't experienced it myself?
Did you?
So physically in the human life, but also at the same time to be able to bring in the light as well. But like transformation. Have I made any sense in what I've just said?
Yeah.
You have.
I think the flag.
That's where gratitude comes in.
Yeah, gratitude, exactly.
Timers. Yeah.
I'm
Routines.
particularly interested in knowing more about the ancient Egyptians and the extraterrestrial involvement in that society. And I was wondering if the pyramids and any other megalithic sites from other ancient civilizations, are they like a healing point or a communication point or a place to train people to elevate their consciousness, or what is the purpose of those sites?
Yeah, very good question. When you talk about ancient Egypt, you have to acknowledge that the ancient Egyptian mystery system was and still is the highest mystery schools of learning on the planet. And all races, be it from the Hindus and the Greeks and the Romans, they all came to Egypt to sit at the feet of those venerated masters to learn. But being that these are wise scientists or priests or deities in human form, they were only given 3 degrees of 9 degrees. Those 3 degrees of information, I didn't say affirmation, of information is what locked them into person, places and things. So what they were given, the Greeks and the Romans and other races, they went back to their respective lands and taught their people what they learned from these venerated masters. But they had to put it in a way that that the people could relate to it.
Yeah.
The Greeks now, when they went to Egypt and came back, they were persecuted because of the information that they received from these venerated masters. Now, for example, the Greeks, they sat at the feet of one deity called Tahuti, which you mentioned earlier on. And they went back to their land and they morphed a character who they referred to as Hermes Trismegistus. You may have heard of the term called the Hermetic Principles, or the 7 Hermetic Principles. Well, actually, that's coming from the 9 principles or the 9 doctrines of Tahuti, you see. However, they got that information, and a lot of people are teaching from it today. But also, what they also did is they learned from these masters, came back and reversed it, and based on the knowledge that they learned, they spellbound the planet with what they've learned, you see. So, in essence, in ancient Egypt and the pyramids, these were sites not just of learning, but of initiation, and the pyramids itself and these structures were built by extraterrestrials with the help of human beings, you see. Because if you look at the hieroglyphs now on the walls, first of all, if you look at the structure, especially if you go to Luxor or Karnak temples there, you see how vast the structures are. And if you look at the hieroglyphs, you notice how it's like inches deep. So they had to use some form of laser technology in order to make those inscriptions. Certain materials that they used was one is such as diorite, which is about the same hardness as diamond and granite. How were they able to do that? That is extraterrestrial technology. So not people say, no, it's human beings, extraterrestrial. No, extraterrestrial technology. They held, and they still hold, the highest of sciences on the planet today. You see? Have you had any problems?
Yeah. See, a lot of the time when we talk about Egypt, we talk about it like in the past tense. But we are those Egyptians today. We're still here, we're alive, and we are descendants of our ancestors, and they taught us. And the reactivation of the DNA today is why the master is here and is getting us to remember who we are. So even when we use terms like Egypt, that's what other people refer to it as, you know, Aegyptos from the Greeks. So before the dynastic period, right, Egypt existed, but it was what they refer to as Neolithic. They refer to it as Napata, Meroe, the Nile Valley. So when you go to Egypt today, who people are encountering as the Egyptians are not the original Egyptians.
Yeah.
So that's why when we talk, we say we're talking about the original Egyptians, because today you've got a lot of Arab influence, because the person known as Ishmael, who was the son of Abraham, who was from Mesopotamia, dealing with the whole Anunnaki story, who becomes the patriarch of the monotheistic religion, he had a child with a being called Hagar. Because in Christianity, they tell you Abraham had 3 wives, right? Hagar, Keturah, and Sarah. Hagar was an Egyptian. And so they birthed this child called Ishmael. So you have the Ishmaelites and you have the Israelites. And in religion, they try to make the Egyptian look like the bad people and make the Israelites look like the good people. Because the whole point of Pharaoh, you know, the whole going to Egypt to free the Israelites, when you look at that story, you have to remember that they're talking about these people that came to Egypt and were there for 430 years, which people mix up with the 400 years of when we'll get to a point where the 6,000 years after the slavery. So there was two major slaveries, or what they call slave trade. Yeah, but we know it was a kidnapping of people, and one was in the 1400s and the other one was in the 1600s with someone called Prince Henry, the navigator.
Yeah.
So that 400 years brought us up to the year 2000, and that's when this information, like our ancestors knew that there's going to come this period where we will reawaken. So when they used to mummify, they did that to preserve the DNA and the genes, because they knew in the future genetics was going to play an important part, because the Human Genome Project was done in 1953, and then they started to dig up the mummies, take their DNA to try and study who these are and who on the planet is the children of those beings. So what we're basically saying is that you go on the walls of Egypt, the stories and the different things that took place, like the graftation, it's all on the walls, but you need to know how to read it, which is the hieroglyphics. The hieroglyphics is just a script of our language that we speak today, which was the first language on the planet, which other people then taught, and it started to form different dialects. So today, people try to read the hieroglyphics by way of, people say the metuneta, right? Which just literally means the language of the gods, or the language that the gods spoke, but they don't know what that is or can't interpret it. So our teacher, Dr. Malachi Ziyot, the master teacher, being a linguist, he is able to interpret and translate all of those writings. And then it also ties into the Anunnaki's involvement, and they used a script called cuneiform or cuneiform. And again, that was another script of our language known as Nuapic, Mispatia, as we refer to it as. So the secrets are now being deciphered by one who can read and give you the original information of what was being done. So Happy Ray said a lot of different extraterrestrials were carrying out building projects on the planet. Some of them were so that their crafts can use them to charge when they came. Some of them were used for like studying and teaching people many things. A lot of the times war broke out between these extraterrestrials and they abandoned some of these projects. So you will see places like
Baalbek and
exactly. You've got Stonehenge. So all around the world you see that these structures are aligned with particular ley lines on the planet. And of course each one you can go into, and there's so much information about it, whether it's the Grand Canyon or, you know, Puma Punku. So there's so many different sites that when you go into the details of what was it built for, what, like the pyramids were used for many reasons to charge up the crafts, because they emit something called tachyon energy or frequency, which is like the DNA structure. Yeah, so it was used for the schools, it was used for charging the crafts, it was used for many, many things. I don't know if you want to...
No, you pretty much touched what I was going to say. So yeah, I mean, if you know, the science behind it is that, for instance, they used what now they refer to as that technology to build 3D printing. So 3D printing was actually part of the thing that was used in ancient times to build the pyramids. That's right. And the pyramids are not just built from just one level. They actually go down into the earth as well, like really miles down. And there's caverns there that lead into the center of the earth. You see, so these are the sciences that our ancestors were aware of or knew. And these advanced beings, extraterrestrials, of either of the Pleiadian or either of the Anunnaki or the Nataru, they knew this information because they realized that, as we were saying, Earth is a craft, and it's a craft that's a living entity. And it being a living entity, it has grids on them known as ley lines. Those ley lines are similar to your meridians in your body. So those energy meridians, they could tap into that source and then be able to extract that energy utilizing certain elements like copper and zinc. So those shafts that was built in the pyramids were actually a place where they will store those elements, and then it will create a particular magnetic field. That magnetic field then was used to then charge crafts, etc. And then there was also, as Brother Habtui mentioned, diorite and other stones, and they were known as paramagnetic stones, which means that they could actually reverse the polarity of these stones to cause them to actually levitate.
Wow.
You see, so there was this thing, you can see them in China now, they call maglevs, where they actually have bullet trains that travel, using magnetics. So this science is available. Nikola Tesla was one of the very pioneers of this technology, but they had to keep him quiet, so they got rid of him, you see, and then brought out electricity by way of Edison. So all of these things is what the ancients, our ancestors, were aware of and knew about, and how to harness it. You can also harness your body. Your actual body is a technology as well. Because you can harness it and store, natural energy, and then be able to utilize it to heal your body. So
And when I was saying how everybody went to Egypt, it's because of trying to find out this knowledge and the sciences of how they were able to do this and why they're so advanced and how did they build the pyramids. Until this day, they're still trying to decipher that. So everybody really talks Egypt. We actually rebuilt Egypt in the West, and we live Egypt, you see. So we talk from a point where, like, the master teacher is one of those beings that was a part of those ancient beings in that time, which we think is the past. He's here now, and he is also able to tell us about what people call in the future, you see. And he is the pharaoh known as Amenubi-Rapata of ancient times. And so we can go into more details if you want, but I don't know. Happy Ray looks like he wants to build on that.
I'd build what the brothers are saying, because we had our own land in Easton, a place called Easton in Georgia, and it's like, we call it Tamaray, Egypt of the West. And on that land, we had pyramids, and obviously not like Giza, we had pyramids there, and the master we had structures or sites there for initiations, and we had ceremonies that was never been reenacted in 10,000 years. For the feminines, we had ceremonies for them, the sisters of Isis, we had the procession of Osiris, the being Osiris incarnated into the master, and we had a procession for that. These are ceremonies never reenacted in 10,000 years. And yet, so that is what he was preparing for the people. And there was no entrance fee, just go in there. The only thing you had to pay for was $32 and buy the book, and that was about it. And you want some food and drink. The master never passed around a bucket that you can put money in, like you do when you go to church or whatever.
I just wanted to bring your attention to this because he has many, many books, right? This is called Mission Earth and the Extraterrestrial Involvement because, like Sia said before, this is definitely a plan ET and they were involved from the inception. So there is a lot of books and scrolls we have that, you know, you can get hold of to read when you want to get more information. But go on, you had another question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what happened to all of this knowledge that just seemed to disappear, and all these civilizations that just from what seems from one day to another just cease to exist? And is that like part of the cyclical kind of nature of balance that there, of course, we should all strive to elevate our consciousness, but at the same time, we do need a balance between light and darkness? And is this part of that like cyclical balance that kind of gets self-restored, or was it accidental, or was there a power shift in other beings?
It's funny because your mental processing, which is your reasoning, is actually alluding to a lot of the truths within your question, because all the things that you're actually trying to elucidate the truth from, you're answering them, but you just need confirmation. You understand? So yes, there have been cyclical. We call it the 24,000 year cycle. So every 24,000 years is a renewal of our, as Natharu or children of the Natharu, that's our way of life. Now 24,000 years also is part of the planet as well, goes through a cycle, which is 24,000 year cycle. And that's split into a quarter. So you have 6,000 years, which is known as a sun cycle, 6,000 years, which is known as the moon cycle, and they alternate. So right now, we've entered into the sun cycle, which happened from the year 1999, 2000 stroke. And we had spoke about that, call it the Aquarian age and many other things like that. So when that cycle starts to now come through, the hidden mysteries or the hidden things have now been revealed by the being known as Sir Ken said, Amon Nubi Re'e Achach Patah. He's that Pharaoh that will unveil all those hidden mysteries and teach us to the point where we raise our consciousness, you see what I'm saying? And we become the students of that particular high teacher, high priest. And then we as students go out into the world to reveal that to the rest of humanity. So that's what our job is, you see? So that cycle is the day and time you're living in. And there have been societies that have sprung up from the teachings of this particular being known as Tahuti, etc. Some have utilized it for their gain. Some have utilized it to suppress. You see what I'm saying? Some have utilized it just for their own benefit, etc. So it's like what's taking place is that whoever gets their hands on knowledge, they can do two things with it, isn't it? They can suppress it or they can share it to the public. But we know that because of the cycle, that last cycle I spoke about, the moon cycle, was one of the worst cycles for humanity.
Why?
And essentially, because the moon cycle brings with it negative thoughts and negative energy. You see what I'm saying? In the moon cycle, the sun cycle brings the opposite.
Okay.
We call it a 6 ether and 9 ether. So 6 ether is opposite of 9, and 6 suppresses while 9 lifts. You see what I'm saying? Removes the oppression. So this is what we're in now. So that last 6,000 years is when many of the atrocities that humanity has been, involved in has happened in that cycle, you see? And we're just now we're now into the year 6025. In our calendar, we call it 625. It's 25 years from the last... 26. 26 years now from the last moon cycle. That's what we're entered into. So those 26 years, there's going to be a lot of revelations that are taking place, revealing of things. Not revelations of the Bible, but I'm just saying revelations, and you're going to see a lot more changes taking place.
Of clarity and...
Yeah, exactly.
Simply, if you think about energy and balance, let's say you got two circles, and all bad should be in one circle and all good should be in one circle.
Yeah.
But there is a balance if both circles are equally in terms of their quantity. But what happens is, and you talk about that, like the middle being the center, and then the scales can tip in one way or the other. And depending on how it tilts, the beings on the planet are affected. So in the last 6,000 years, it was tilted more to the disagreeable with all the chaos and the wars and all the conflicts that go on the planet, because religion was introduced in that last 6,000 year moon cycle. Religion is only 6,000 years old compared to the cycle of 24,000 years. So when we come out of that moon cycle, it's like people waking up and now starting to realize they were under a spell. We start to tip the balance. Ideally, all the people that are in the disagreeable or bad circle are meant to be in the other circle. And it's okay if the two circles are balanced. This is where the whole concept of the feather of Ma'at and the deeds that you do, because you're both agreeable and disagreeable as well. You have 180 degrees of, people say bad and good, but it's really energy, like positive and negative, because you need the both for polarity and for the balance. In computers, it's zeros and ones, and you know, we've mentioned many examples of that. So what's happening is that if you're balanced, or if you're leaning more over to your agreeable side, your nature is more ruled and governed by your agreeable side. So you become agreeable in nature. And then you've kind of like suppressed or conquered the other side. But you have both natures, because you have the reptilian nature, because we have a reptilian brain and we actually evolved from the waters. We need to drink water every day, have a shower or a bath every day. We're in a water planet. We're breathing water, but we call it air, just a finer form of water. So the reptilian side of you, these reptilian beings, they appeal to that side by constantly advertising, promoting, and marketing disagreeableness and 6 ether forces. The sex force is one of those forces they use a lot. So you have to be aware that you're being manipulated and a lot of things are distorted to appeal to your reptilian nature. But you have what people will consider their God or their good nature. But once you understand that, you've got to, and your ancestors as well that align with you, because you've got those that are agreeable, you've got those that are disagreeable, making up your 29 or less personalities. Each one of these personalities can influence you on a daily basis, because you've got a radio in your head. You hear their voices, as well as the external voices from the extraterrestrials and beings on the planet that are running the world and manipulating people's emotions and feelings. So it's really about you learning to suppress all the disagreeable 6 ether forces within you and leaning more to the other side, so you can elevate on all the different realms and levels. Yeah, so it's a lot.
I just want to talk about two things, elaborate on two things. First of all, Usia mentioned the name Amundababre Akhpata, and he also mentioned about, was the knowledge gone out of existence or was it cyclical? First it was about the knowledge, then I'll talk about this name that Usia mentioned. First of all is that these wise scientists, females and males, feminines and masculines, they knew of the cycles. So what they did with the mystery systems, the hidden knowledge, the knowledge, it went underground. These orders went underground, and they'll wait for an appointed time for it to be released or revealed. So it was the information or these higher mysteries was concealed. The mystery schools and the people, the priests, etc., and priestesses, they went underground. However, they taught selected people, very few people they taught, and the people who they taught had to conceal themselves in religion. That's why earlier on, Saken mentioned about an order of Muslims called the Sufi orders. These are the spiritual, the mystic orders of Islam, and you had those of the Essene orders. So they held the mystery systems, be they from Iraq, Iran, from Egypt, etc., or Syria, they held the secrets, and they secret, or even Sudan, they held the secrets, and to selected students, they're able to transmit or relate these secrets to the students until an appointed time, until one called Amun Nubi Ra'akhpata came. Or we say Amun Nabab Reye Akhpata, which is the master teacher. Now, Amun Nabab Reye Akhpata translates as Amun, I'll say like this, Amun Nubi Ra'akhpata, Amun, the hidden one, Nubi, gold, Ra'akh, which is the ether, and Pata is the opener. It is a state of mind which is achieved when one intakes what we call mafkhuzat, or liquid gold, or monatomic gold. I don't know if you heard about that. Liquid gold, you heard about that?
Yeah.
Right, because it is this liquid gold, when it's ingested, transform an individual into a deity, and they could converse with the higher beings. Once you have taken in this liquid gold, you become an Amun Nubi Ra'akhpata, like the master teacher. So this is what he's raising up. So that reacts also with, we mentioned earlier on, with a gland called the barotheric gland, which reacts with the brain, reacts with the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, also melatonin and serotonin, because the mafkhuzat, or liquid gold, is a component of 8 elements called, the monatomic elements, or the platinum group elements. So we could go into that in detail. So yeah, that's a very important name to take hold of. It's also referred to as Amun Nabab Reye Akhpata. Amun, again, the hidden one. Nabab, galactical master. Reye, which is the sun. Akhpata, etheric. Pata is opener. So these are different names or different attributes of this title that relates to not only the master teacher, but to those elite few who will get that liquid gold and the reactivation once again of that barotheric gland, and the transformation from not just mere humans but into deities once again. And with the reactivation of the barotheric gland and the ingestion of the liquid gold, you'll be able to transform yourself into a craft and leave this earth plane.
And just the name that he's mentioning, Amun, right? In ancient times, this is the same being that all religions have adopted, where they end their prayers with. So in Christianity, they will say Amen. Yeah. In Islam, they say Ameen, and then in the Judaic, they say Omain. That's telling you that even though we're using these different titles for this same being throughout time in different cultures, today that's still that same being. In the book of Revelations, if you read, is it 3:14? 3:14, thank you. Amun. Yeah, where it's saying Amun witnessed the creation of God. You see, that Amun is tying you back to ancient Egypt, and tying you back to this being. So he's the one that knows and holds the secret and keeps the book and the list of those beings. Remember, I mentioned that all information is recorded, and you're on this list, on these records that are kept, and you can be on it 1 minute and you can come off of it. So it's about staying on it, and in Islam they refer to it as staying on the Siratul Mustaqim. So really, everyone has the opportunity, based on their behavior and their actions and the knowledge that we're sharing, to decide whether they, either when they physically are unalived, you can travel that way as a craft, as a being, or if you are able to, say this planet gets to a state where it's imminent destruction, selected beings, those beings that are chosen and have received their barotheric gland, can be taken on a craft. Like we're talking about extraterrestrials, you can go on an actual craft and be taken away to be groomed and then come back to help save the planet. Or you can when you're going, just go and don't come back if you're taken to other worlds. So this is what's going on the planet, and people have to learn and know what's really going on. But you're not going to know this information or be taught what you should be doing if you're not studying Wu Sabat under the master teacher that is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people nowadays are looking outwards for answers when really they should be looking inwards.
Exactly.
And expanding a bit on this, I was wondering where you guys get your information when or if you tap into the pool of consciousness. Is that something you do within, or do you get certain messages from these celestial beings?
That's a very good question. And see these scrolls here that Saken has brought us today? In ancient Egypt, I don't know if you heard the term Medu Netra. We talked about this earlier on. Medu Netra. Yes. Medu, let's say words, and Netra, let's say words of the deities. Well, they don't really have the tones, but the master's given us the tones. It's Pa, Madat, Empa, Nasaru, the words of the deities, or say the words of the overseers, say the word of gods. Okay, these scrolls here is alive, and within each word there's a gap. In that gap there's outformation. Like earlier on we talked about time, about the first moment of time, they call it a second, and then you got a minute, etc. Well, the first moment of time is actually a moment, and that moment is now. Then after now then becomes a second, but within that moment there is outformation, there is a dimension, there's a time frame outside of this three-dimensional time frame. So going back to the books, within the books are very much alive, and when you read it and you absorb it and you begin to get an understanding of the books, what it's doing is it's transforming you, as Saken mentioned earlier on, from a solid into liquid and then into gas or an etheric state. So what is actually happening inside your mind is that you are creating new neurons, a new neural, it's called neuroplasticity. Yeah, the communication from one neuron to the next is called a synapse. So you are increasing the synapses and you are increasing new neurons. And as that is happening, your intelligence is also expanding as well. You see, so there's a lot of things going on, and as that happens, now go back to your question. You begin to receive outformation from your ancestors or from higher beings. So as you're talking, bam, it's coming out that way.
You start to reason.
So that that mental reservoir. You have what we refer to as an etheric cord.
Correct.
Okay, the etheric cord is like a very thin cobweb-like energy cord that's linked into your etheric being, which is linked into the mental reservoir. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So when, as you said, as you progress in your spirituality growth, you then start to tap into that part of you which is able to draw from that mental realm and from that mental reservoir, and then what your mind does is once it relays it to your brain consciously then interprets it, and then that goes into the cells of your body, and then you have the inspiration, what is called inspiration or awareness. So this is the process that's actually taking place. There's a Patrick, we do a lot of science, as you've noticed, we speak a lot of scientific things. So one of the things that was explained to us, Partner Babianun explained, you got something called a medulla oblongata, you got something called the corpus callosum, and these are actual parts. The corpus callosum is the left and right brain, and there's like a bridge. And that bridge, when you start to apply Wu Sabat or our teachings or any form of spiritual teachings to your life, that corpus callosum starts to grow and get stronger in being able to transfer information. You see what I'm saying? So as you're tapping into that mental realm, that awareness and the field of energy starts to expand, and then your awareness becomes much more, and then you become more. I mean, by the way your demeanor is, it's like you're already kind of like there anyway. Do you know what I mean? So this is the kind of thing that, and being that you're soulful being, that soul that we're talking about, once you link with that, which is linked into your ancestors, they will be able to then give you the information that you require to exist. You know?
I've got to say something quickly because I can see the red flag, man. Happy Ray said something about taking the mathematical Z, or it's known as atomic, monatomic gold, etc. Not everyone that takes it is going to get the same effects. And today there are lots of fake versions online that people are taking to try to get that that conscious, And in ancient times, people, Europeans particularly, or the Adamites, they actually used to dig up our ancestors and crush the bones and ingest it or drink it because they thought that they could get that, what they refer to as the elixir of life, or to live forever.
That's so
because
wrong.
they're looking, but these are the things that happen. And when you say live forever, I think Usia mentioned earlier on, these beings that come from different planets and so on, because they live for thousands of years, that's what they thought it was about, getting that so you can live forever. But there's a lot more to the science.
But if they don't have a concept of time as we know it here, then their aging also must be very different.
That's right. They don't age like people do over here.
Master teacher said it like this, right? They found the secret to death.
Yeah.
So I just want to quickly say something here, though, for all of you here, and it's for anybody who comes across right knowledge. You don't find right knowledge finds you. You don't find wolves about finds you. You know, so you're not here because of chance or luck. It's because you're meant to be here and receive this information.
Based on your vibration, your frequency, your sound, right reasoning.
So my question is, the human and the jinn, devil, have a free will. Why is that? What will be the moral choice?
Okay, literally ask about will. That's a
free will. They have a free will, whether human or devil or jinn.
Right. Yeah, that's a common statement that people make about this thing called free will. There's no such thing as free will. There's will, which is defined as the ability to decide upon a course of action, but the will is not free because the fact that there's always a consequence based upon the decisions that you make. So there's no such thing as free will. Okay, so it's really about the law of cause and effect. That for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Okay, so there's always consequence, but the consequence doesn't mean it's disagreeable, you know, or it's agreeable. It just is. Will justice is undecided. You want to go to a particular destination. You come to a roundabout. You can either take the first exit, the second exit, or the third exit. The decision is yours. Whichever route you take will take you on to a different direction. But make sure that when you do choose, you use sound right reasoning. I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to use my will to take the third exit, so I'll reach my destination.
So you have to look at it that when people say free will, that again, like my brother just said, is coming from a religious concept. And it's really about this planet is like a prison, right? It's the lowest realm, as I said, which in Islam you guys or Islamic people refer to as Nasut. The objective is to raise yourself so that you can go back to Malakut and then up to what they always say, the bosom of Allah or Lahut. I explained it briefly as solid, liquid and gas, yeah? So when people say you have free will, but there is a consequence because you're being taught how to choose properly or how to make the right decision. Because remember that the whole point we're supposedly here is because when we were in heaven, according to religion, we were in a beautiful place with no sickness, and we were in a garden and so forth. And God put a tree of knowledge in the middle of Jannah and said that don't eat of that fruit because if you do, you're going to die. But then apparently this other being came and what do they call in Islam? They call him the not Shaitan, the whisperer.
Oh, right.
Nakas. Yeah. He came and basically told them, if you eat of the fruit, you're not going to die. You're going to become like God to know good from evil. You see? So they ate the fruit, they didn't die, and their eyes were opened, and they said to become like one of us, or Elohim. And when you're using, this is why we keep saying that Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are Abrahamic religion, because Abraham is like the patriarch, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're coming from Arabic, Greek, Hebrew, it all leads to the same, yeah? So they were told they were going to be cast out of the garden, and they came to earth. So your whole point of being here now is to work your way back up. But you have to walk the Suratul Mustaqim, yeah? So the right path, or the correct path. So what happens is that when you're here on the planet, as we say, because you got the devil here as well, with his children, making, or you guys will say jinns, making evil fair seeming, he will present things to you in a way that, let's say, it's bad for you, but it will be presented as being good. And these are the jinns behind it, right? So you have to decide if you're going to go walk the Siratul Mustaqim, the straight path, so that you can get back to heaven, or you're going to do the devil's work and remain cast there. So that's where the will thing comes in. So you do have to choose correctly so that you will receive the favor of returning back. And that's what like every state, you go from being in the middle, and then you got zeros if you're dealing with like computer 0 and 1, which is binary, or you got good and bad, or like we say, agreeable, disagreeable. So really, from the middle point, you have to learn the information to choose wisely so that you can go to the right path, which literally is going to be able to take you away from this prison that we call Earth, because this is a physical suit. But in order for you not to keep reincarnating, yeah, when you get to that point where you have to choose, you either get sent through the wormhole, which is a white light, to come back here, or you can choose, if you know what you're doing, to go the other way and then meet your ancestors, and they can guide you to continue your development on the other realms.
See, what's happened with these jinns, what they've managed to do, being in human form, is that, and being in society and controlling society, because like I was saying, they were disembodied, jinns, energy form that incarnated into bodies, So Shaitan, has his children, because they use the word nasala. The word nasala in the Arabic means seed. You understand? Yeah. So there's a seed, there's an actual progeny of Shaitan, or these fallen angelic beings. So because some of them are in certain positions of power, all from commercial institutions to educational institutions, they've created multiple choice. Do you understand? That multiple choice has been misinterpreted by humans as I got free will. But really, these multiple choices, whether it's the Quran, the Bible, Injil, all of these different religious books, or even just choices of what you decide to do, is actually based upon what they've given you. You understand? Yeah. So, like it's been explained already, is that your decision is based on what you've found out and have knowledge of. That's your true decision, so you can make the right journey back towards the bosom of Allah, not the multiple choices that these jinns, or in human form, have created. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. My second question is, the people who are spiritual, follows their religious, whether he's a Muslim, whether he's a Hindu, whether he's a Christian. Like if as a Muslim he offers a prayer 5 times, like a Hindu he go to the mandir, as a Christian the person go to the church. He is very spiritual, but his deeds are not good. He is lying, he is dishonest, he is not creating comfort for people. Will those people get the reward hereafter?
No. This is what we're saying, that when we're saying it doesn't matter what walk of life you're coming from, right? That's why I said that the 3 monotheistic religions are Abrahamic religions. But you go back before that, there were other cultures on the planet, you know, like the Mayans, the Zoroastrians, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, Yoruba, Igbo. There's so many people on the planet. This is why it's futile to think that if you don't follow one of these books, that you're going to hell. But at the same time, spirituality has also been misinterpreted by many different people, you see. So you judge yourself by the actions that you, like we were saying, what you choose to do or not to do. But if you have not been taught properly, then you're only going to go by what you know. But everyone has the opportunity to learn now, because we are here and because we got 1,000 books from the master teacher to teach people how to make the right decisions. But you keep reincarnating because, as we are taught, you have 24 to 24,000 times to fix up. This is what we say, like, that's why the Quran says it's for those who work to perfect themselves. Yeah, then they will receive, you know, to go back to the higher realms. But the way religion explains things sometimes, it's actually very basic. And so in any religion, you'll have what you call the Sufi. Yeah, these are the original spiritual practices before men desecrated them and ended up bringing their opinions. And so now in Islam, you will have like the hadiths, a lot of what they say in the companions of Muhammad said, as opposed to the spiritual aspects within the Quran, right? So the Sufi orders in all the religions were the ones that were being taught the right information. So even in Christianity, you have, you know, like Jesus was a part of the Essene order. So was John the Baptist, yeah? And in, you know, the different religions, they would always have that. So those who aspire to learn that information, they're going to come across this being that we're referring to as Parnabab Yanun, because he is of a 720-degree being, meaning he's mastered all the physical realm as well as what we call the spiritual or the unseen world. So he's here to teach those, because remember that both agreeable and disagreeable need to be taught, and the agreeable will then listen to this being. Yeah, the disagreeable are not going to listen to this being because they're listening to Shaitan. So there has to be a separation for those who received we mentioned like the barytheric gland and the way to become fully conscious and spiritual again. You want to add anything?
No. I just want to quickly add on what you said there. It's a very good question about somebody that would go to church or go to the mosque or go to the synagogue, yet they're still doing bad things outside of that. And will they get the rewards when they cross over? The answer is no, because of the fact that they're vibrating on the frequency. Remember, when you leave the physical plane, you're vibrating on frequencies. And as Saken said, a person cannot be held responsible for that which they didn't know. However, people do know right from wrong. You know? And the more knowledge, the more educated you become, the less excuses we can make. And even though a person may do bad or evil or killing or whatever, I think, and they drop down dead, you think, oh, they got away with it. They don't. Because when they drop down dead, the physical goes back to the earth, but their essence still lives on the other frequencies. And there are beings who say, well, you know, people will get their judgment. And not only that, it's also carried down the genes with the living, because your progeny lives on through you. So the good deeds that you do now, or your characteristics, your characteristics is within your children. Follow? See? So it's all about frequencies on the physical realm and outside of the physical realm.
And I'm gonna. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, go
Quick
ahead.
thing, because we keep talking about the realms going upwards, but they go downwards as well.
That's it as well,
Right, so we just need to clarify that.
There's sub-abodes.
Yeah.
So even though you have Nasut, as you know, the word Nas, it's just for those who don't know, you say Nas, which means people, or human beings. So the Nas and Ut means the abode. So the abode of human beings. Now that abode has sub-levels.
That's right.
You with me? So as a being that is known as a Jinn or a ghoul or a demon, etc., they're in the sub-abodes. But they could also infect or influence the living. You understand? And they can come up. How do they come up? They come up through your chakras. They come up through, because what we teach and the master teachers taught us is that your chakras are energy vortexes or gateways to the different dimensions. You understand? So these beings, if you're on that particular frequency, as you mentioned about this person doing evil or wicked, they're opening up their energy centers to allow these beings to come through them and enact those wickedness on the planet. But there's a but, is that what you do can then be passed on to your children, because that's where the sins of the father comes in. Because every action that you do, nature has a rule to balance everything. And what nature does is nature says, well, you didn't get the effect, but guess what? I have to balance things out, and your children, so that curse in that family, you see what I'm saying, or the curse in that nation is because they have not, reconciled the things that they've done in their life. Do you understand? So this is the things that we teach about. Now, back to the jinns. The jinns are also extraterrestrials in this form of known as greys. There's certain greys or extraterrestrial beings, that actually come in your sleep. Yeah, they're known as the incubus and the succubus. There's two types, and they can come, and what they do, they can excrete semen and saliva, etc., from your genes, or they can arouse you, to the point where you have sexual intercourse. Do you see what I'm saying? And they can actually incarnate. So there's many things that these jinns can actually do. Yeah, and they're actually extraterrestrial beings that known as the greys. Some of them are known as the Markabian greys. They're actually disagreeable, wicked ones that can do that to you as well, which in religion has been misinterpreted as jinns. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, and when you say Iblis, for example, he was from a species of these beings known as the Marid. You see, so when we talk about beings and we use words like humans, you have to realize there's a hierarchy. So you go from being a supreme being to a being, to a human being, to a human, to a man, to going down to becoming a demon, a beast, a ghoul, going down to the lower levels. And these beings, they can have an effect on you on the physical. So it's important to understand that your vibration and your frequency, your thoughts and everything is aligned. That's why it's so important, because these genes will use things like fear, chaos and stress and many things that humans go through to change your mood and your vibration, so they can then fuse with you, because they have to bring you to a particular type of frequency, and they travel between, say, music, because music is waves. So when we say sound, light, it's all energy that can transform from one to the other. So they can actually bring your vibration down to the lowest one, which deals with like desires, like the red chakra, which deals with like the Kama Sutra and the sex, and all that is dealing with lower vibrations. When you go to the higher ones, you're starting to go to your mind, so you can access and pull your being up to those higher frequencies. The beings on the lower vibrations can't reach you when you're on the higher frequencies, so they have to bring you down and then get you to drink, smoke, like you were saying, do all, And again, I'm not attacking anyone who's doing this, because vices, that's down to you to decide and control yourself to know that if you want to reach the higher vibrations, then you have to clean yourself inside out. And, you know, the things you put into your body are going to change your vibration and your thoughts. See? So.
And my third question is about soul. What is soul creates before the existence of human or after the, if it were before existence, where they were placing in the universe?
It's called a mental reservoir. So they were before, because people say my thought, but really you're accessing a reservoir that has been there since the beginning of time. In fact, that is referred to, and we have a scroll called the Akasha Records. In this scroll, this is what in Islam and different religions they talk about, this place where all knowledge is stored, right? And they refer to it as the Akasha Records. And that's because you got these beings, like Panda Babyanun is one of them. You got beings that keep these records. Everything we do, everything we say is recorded as a form of energy, and it's stored on crystal, what you would call me stones, yeah? And these beings have libraries of the information. So there's nothing you do that is not recorded and stored, because your matrix stores it and then it's uploaded to this, call it a server, right? Or like now they talk the cloud, you know, everyone's talking about iCloud and Google Drive and all that, but they call it the cloud. But it's really referring to the fact that all the knowledge on the planet is accessed through this mental reservoir. But there are different levels of it. So not everybody can access the higher vibrations unless you raise yourself. This is why knowledge is so important, because you have to, or not necessarily knowledge, but more like when you elevate yourself, you have access to, like we were mentioning, your higher powers like telepathy, intuition, clairvoyance, psychometry. So you don't have to go through like a traditional educational system as such to get 100 degrees, but you have no emotional intelligence, you have no love or a shook, you have no way of discerning things. So it's not just about like academic education, it's about knowing yourself so you can access the higher vibrations.
May I add?
Yeah, sure.
So the soul aspect,
Yeah.
know that that's a part of your dimensional being. Yeah, so you have a soul, as they call it, ruh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the nafs or nafish.
Yeah.
And you have the bashra or the skin. Okay, and then you also have the part of you known as the akhakh, which we call the ether. So you have an etheric being part of you, and then you also have the mind, the mental. So all of these are different components of who you are as a dimensional being. As you stand here now in this density or in this dense form, know that there's also other parts of you operating in other dimensions. And so what Sir Ken and Brother Habtui are saying is that until you start to expand your vibration to a frequency that matches those different parts of you, you're not going to reach those higher realms. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a matter of the practicing and the operating of it. So your soul is coming from that realm. You with me? And it comes in by way of your crown chakra, by your parents. When your mother and father were to conceive you, that soul entered, and what happens is your semen, the semen of the father, travels up to the crown chakra. And what it does, it fuses with the soul from that realm. And then it travels back, and then it's then ejaculated into the mother, and then the child is conceived. This is what's taking place. So the soul that some people have, okay, is coming from that dimension, other dimension of who you, of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And just to touch on that, not everybody has a soul.
Yeah.
You can have a soul, but it's not activated. Or you cannot have a soul at all because you don't have one or it's burnt out. Everybody does have a spirit. This is why people will say, well, how am I still here then? Because everything that is vibrating and alive has a spirit. That's the trees, the rocks, the animals, nature vibrates on a particular frequency. So it is possible for you to be alive without a soul. So you don't have a conscious, and when you do disagreeable acts, to you, you don't feel it. You don't have a connection to that empathy that other people that have a soul will have.
And
I knew he was going to do that. He was just waiting.
I have a last question.
All right, let Apure take your last question.
Just last question. I have ear, and also I have experience through observation. The people who are more spiritual are under the influence of devil more than the non-spiritual people. How much is true that? How much true is that? And what do you think about that?
About people having
the people who are more spiritual than the other one, like more
I'll get the
praying
question.
more than the other people's, they are more under the influence of shaitan, devil,
okay, right.
than the non-spiritual people.
Go on.
Go.
Now I was just going to say, just because you go to a mosque or to a church, or
I'm just asking what you people think
no, I
about
get
this.
your question. Yeah, what I'm saying is people confuse religion with spirituality. So because they go to a church or a mosque or a synagogue and they act all holy and thou, doesn't mean that they're spiritual. So when you're saying that, it's kind of a contradiction, because if you are truly spiritual, you will know how to live and behave and act in that way. So what you're really saying, there are many people who are faking the funk, for lack of a better word. So those are not, but we're not here to judge anybody. We're just saying, like, if you are wearing the garb and going to the mosque and going to the church and going to the synagogue, but then your actions and what you're doing doesn't reflect that, then you're not really
holy.
Or you're holy with a lot of holes in your
you got a lot of holes
in your character.
The holy.
Holy holes.
Very holy.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Time up.